is WSTX 970 AM on your radio dial. Welcome, welcome, Virgin Islanders, St. John, St. Thomas, St. Croix at home, and all around the region of the Caribbean and the world. You know, Virgin Islanders are all over. Well, this is Mary Moorhead, your host, and the numbers to call should you want to make a remark: 340-773-0390 or 340-773-0490. I want to point out there are a few announcements that you need. One is that tomorrow, tomorrow at 9:30 a.m., the Senate is meeting in St. Thomas. The hearing is centered in St. Thomas, and I'm speaking of the Committee on Government Operations. Wow, just forgot the rest of the name. But anyway, government operations is the main part for me to remember because this deals with operation, and I'm talking about there will be the consideration, the debate of Bill 360187. That is the bill, folks, to allow paper ballots to be placed in a separate ballot box so that those votes can be hand counted. Okay. There have been some adjustments made to it, and the senators who are members of the committee from the St. Croix district have all made a commitment to support the bill. But I'm asking those of you in St. Thomas because that's the questionable side. Why? I don't understand, as we will explain. Hand counting is a very transparent process because, I mean, what could be more transparent than you hearing someone calling out the votes for all who are in the room to hear and watching the folks tallying the vote on their spreadsheet and, saying tally every five after every five votes. Totally transparent. Folks, all I hear is about time. We need to, in life, stop trying to rush. Okay? Stop trying to rush. Because it seems like the more we try to rush something, the worse off we make it. And my position is this: when you're going to tell me you want to know the results right away, what difference does that make? Whoever the winners are, who are successful in the election, they cannot take their seat, take their office for another 2 months. So, what is the big thing in rushing to know who won when? Hey, there's time. There's time still for you to interact with the winners after the votes are counted and to begin to make sure that they understand the needs of the community. Okay, so that is tomorrow, 9:30 in the legislature. Okay, um, that I believe is the only announcement that I have for you right now at this moment. Okay, so I want to get to, oh, we're getting a guest a little later, about 1 o'clock, and it's going to be the topic naturally is public school education. And right now, I want to take the time that there remains before the guests arrive to outline for you. I did that when I sat and call with Jamila on Saturday, but I want to make sure that you here on my program are aware of the items that are involved in the agreement, the mediated settlement agreement. That is what is being referred to. the mediated settlement agreement between the Democratic Party and the election system and the Board of Election. So here is how it reads. It says this 23rd day of April 2026, the parties agree as follows in full settlement of their dispute. And number one says that on May 19th, 2026, the election system of the Virgin Islands, ESVI, shall provide to the Democratic Party of the U.S. Virgin Islands, DPVI, a list of persons who returned nomination packages to the ESVI. Okay? Now, folks, you know the 19th is the day that, well, it's the last day for people, for candidates to turn in their nomination papers. So, what this is saying is when they turn in the nomination paper, the election system supposed to let the Democratic Party know who turned in under the symbol of the Democrats. Folks, let me tell you upfront and be plain. Um, I don't agree with this agreement whatsoever. So let me just keep my opinion to myself right now, and I'm going to just read the um, the 12 items, just not to prejudice you or bias you. Okay? So I'm going to make no more comments. I'll just read the 12 items to be fair so that you'll get them totally unbiased. So that's number one. Okay. Number two, no later than May 25th, 2026, ESVI, that's the Department of Election, will, okay, excuse a minute. I'm on the air. I'm on the radio right now. I can't talk. Okay. Um, no later than May 25th, ESVI, which is election system, will notify DPVI, which is the Democratic Party, of those persons on the list who have met the statutory qualifications for the office they seek. The statutory qualifications, folks, just for those who need clarity, refers to the requirements as itemized by the VI code. That's what it means, statutory. Okay. Number three, on or before May 27, 2026, DPVI, that's the Democratic Party, shall submit a listing of registered Democrats certified by the DPVI, Democratic Party, to move on to the primary election ballot. Number four, for the 2026 election cycle, ESVI, election system, will send an email notice to each person who picked up a packet that they need to contact the political party they intend to run under for further information. Number five, DPVI, Democratic Party, will provide its contact information to the ESVI, election system, via email to the supervisor of elections no later than the close of business on Monday, April 27, 2026. Number six, for the 2028 election cycle, the information in number four will be placed in a nomination packet from ESVI election system. Number seven, those Democratic candidates who successfully completed DPVI, the Democratic Party, screening and vetting process and are subsequently found by the Board of Elections and Supervisor of Elections to meet the Virgin Islands statutory requirements, are formally qualified and shall be entitled to have their names printed on the primary ballot. You know, it's difficult for me not to comment. Number 8, ESVI, the election system, shall conduct the Virgin Islands primary election according to Virgin Islands law. Number 9, the parties agree to adhere to this agreement not only for 2026, but for all future Virgin Islands election cycles as applicable. Number 10, each party shall bear its own cost, including attorney's fees. That is in reference to this, whatever fees uh, have to deal with the mediation. Okay, it's not talking about anything with election. And number 11, the parties release any related claims one against the other. And finally, number 12, within 10 days of this agreement, the parties shall file a joint stipulation of dismissal of claims in this civil action. And as I understand, that was done. Okay? So, folks, I'm going to rest it right there and read. And I am so glad that my guest is here, prompt and on time, because I'm ready to go on to something to cool down the stress. Because these 12 items are, well, you heard them. They should be mulling in your head. But at any rate, I am so happy to have someone who is very familiar with the public school education system and who wants to talk to you people about her knowledge and interest in the public education system. Welcome, Lucy Jackson. I am so happy to have you here this afternoon. And then, Mike, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Peggy. Good afternoon, listening audience. I'm actually here to have a conversation with Peggy regarding public education because she knows that's our topic, our interest. That's what really brought us together umpteen years ago.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, you're quite welcome. I wonder how many people have read the white paper that you had such. Uh,
Influence, yeah,
yes,
the white paper
yeah,
from,
because it's still very applicable.
yes, the Singaporean Foundation for Community
Yeah,
Development, yes,
yeah,
in 2015
yeah.
had contracted me to do research on the education system in the Virgin Islands. So our approach, rather than coming up with opinions and assumptions, we decided to look at the VI code
Mhm.
because the VI code outlines how the system should be organized and the roles and responsibilities of
Mhm.
different entities,
How it should work.
how it should work. Because we found out, yeah, we don't know according to the VI code if how it was set up to work would work because it has never been implemented that way. It doesn't work that way. The white paper that you mentioned is called Cracking the Code.
Tell the audience if you know where it's still maybe accessible. No, is there any place?
Um, yeah,
Because if someone hears now and maybe it
you can
might be
call the
interesting.
foundation,
Okay.
Sinclair Foundation for Community Development. They should still have copies. It was published in 2017. But let me discuss the process for coming up with the white paper. So we did the research and we looked at several areas in terms of who should be heading the public school, the education system in the Virgin Islands. I just can't leave it to public education because it engulfs the parochial and
Mhm.
all the other private schools. According to the code, the Board of Education has a lot of authority, even when it comes to federal funds. And I guess as we proceed, we can go into more detail what the code says.
So how did a letter board pass?
And then they work in conjunction with the Department of Education, the Commission of Education in a number of areas as well. They're supposed to work together. So what it is, the organization, that's what we realized, that the board has more authority than it has been exercising over the decades.
Yes.
Let me put it that way.
Definitely.
So we did the research. We looked at the roles and responsibilities of the Department of Education, the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Education, and then even to the how the board is set up, the requirements for being on the board. And we saw that the requirement is the same as running for senator. You just have to live in the Virgin Islands for 2 years, and you're eligible to run for the Board of Education. So then we said, okay, let's see what's happening in the other states. And we look at several other national models throughout the states. For one thing, we found that on a lot of the boards throughout the state, a student is on the board. They have people from labor, from manufacturing, from the technical areas, from industry. Representatives, yes. Some board members throughout the states are nominated, while some are elected, etc. And then we found that the superintendent in the states is called superintendent, which is the equivalent of a commissioner here. In a lot of cases, they also sit on the board. Okay. So we looked at those models and we compared them and found that there were different models, composition, etc. And then we did an assessment of the whole system, and how we did that assessment is we invited the legislators, the senators. We had meetings with the Board of Education to show them our findings. People within the community, people from nonprofit organizations, from different agencies. And we had about 5 different meetings with stakeholders and presenting the information, which was not our opinion, but more so factual findings. We found that those responsible for developing the policies and so forth that run the education system was surprised. It's a lot that they didn't know, even to some board members at the time, and this is back in 2016, 2017. They didn't know the full roles and responsibility of the board. And so that sparked my interest, because I've been an educator for about 32 years. I'm retired now, 7 years this April. But, I have always been an advocate for good public education, because I come up in a system from elementary straight up to high school. So, yeah.
And we both know that as much as people just use it as a saying, education can and does make a difference in a person's life.
Well, we educators, we make all the different careers that exist within society, within in life. And
this is why I asked to mention if it's the paper is accessible any place, because the people who are now candidates for Senate, as well as the different boards, they need to review the information in that to understand the role, and the importance of getting education right. Because I tell people all the time, if you're talking about making adjustments for our future, making plans for our future, and you don't have education there as one of the main items, then you're just blowing wind, as far as I'm concerned. And folks sometimes challenge me and say, well, the most important thing to us is health, and especially now because of the problems and the concern we have with our health system. And I said, but how do you know what is good health? And they look at me like, how did I sit there with him? Like, oh yeah. And I say, you, in order to deal with anything, you first are educated to understand what you're dealing with and how you have to deal with it. And
Exactly.
that's simply all it is. And then I always don't have to add that I have learned, and I definitely believe education is from birth to death.
It's true.
It's always happening.
That's really inside the mother's womb because every emotion, every feeling she has, her thoughts and so forth, that's communicated to the child.
But I realize that some of our so-called leaders think it stops someplace, and that is why they don't see the value of education, because it's like I had mine, I got mine, and that's it. Uh,
Well, um, education is vital, and I think first we need to define what is education. So when I was in post-secondary and in college, I questioned that because I probably changed my major 3 times before I decided I'm going to be an educator. Um, I looked at education and I found a definition somewhere that says education is the training of the mind.
okay.
Okay. And I realized, okay, as educators, we're really dealing with the
Yeah.
mind, the cognitive development of children.
Hmm.
And what happens in the brain during that process, we're making synapses, connections within the brain that actually changes
Hmm.
how a person thinks. We're planting seeds that it's biochemical, it's also physical, and it's scientific. So I'm saying teachers aren't just people who are facilitators, they're scientists.
Yeah.
They have to know what they're doing.
Yep.
They have to know what they're doing, not just by what they say, but in the relationship
Hmm.
with those who they serve, those who come into their classroom,
Yeah.
how they deal with them socially and emotionally, and what they're teaching. So the training of the mind, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're training them not just what to think, but how to think. And me being the revolutionary that some people have titled me as, I look at it in comparison to what education and the institutionalization of education since post slavery or coming in after slavery. And was the education really set up to make us independent, um, self controlling?
Hmm.
What was the intention of the educational system? And actually being part of it, it was a lot of
Hmm.
colonialization, it was colonial education because it was training us how to be in somebody else's system, to build somebody else's economic system.
Hmm.
So, we studying education and we want to become teachers. One of the courses they put you in is to develop a philosophy of education. Well, you're becoming a teacher. What is your philosophy of teaching? So I decided mine was a philosophy of redemption because we have to correct
Yeah.
what we were taught because we weren't taught for self independence. We were
Hmm.
taught to build somebody else's economic
Hmm.
system, and usually that system was to keep us back.
Hmm.
So I call my philosophy of redemption. It's about correcting and thinking out of the box and getting our children to think for themselves, to see
And
where we've been and where we need to go.
to interject right there, I think that's one of the main problems we have in the territory. We're not we have not designed our system, our education to meet our needs in order for us to progress as a people. And up to now, and we still have the opportunity to change it, but we lack it's not the creativity. We just lack I'm not even sure what we lack, but
Is the word consciousness?
yes, yes, yes,
Conscious.
and courage,
Okay.
and I that is what bothers me continuously, is to how to defeat that, or how to deal with that situation in order to allow the change to happen. And I tell people all the time, I'm a member of the board, but I don't have to be for the change. I just want people to make the change. And I don't even necessarily have to be part, but I am trying to find out how to get people to understand that a change is needed.
And why the change is drastically needed in these times is because the younger generation is who's going to be the leaders of tomorrow. In fact, I taught for 3 generations, and a lot of them are in political positions. They're in government jobs. They're teachers. They're business owners. And my thing is, how well are we preparing them? Because when we look at the state of the territory
Mhm.
and the exploitation that's going on, not just of some of our labor force, but economically,
Mhm.
we have to think, are we really preparing our children for the future? Because the future is vastly changing. Um, what are we teaching relative to technology? What are we teaching relative to AI? I mean, everybody on the phones now, even in classrooms, teachers complaining they're competing with TikTok and so forth. So our children using phones from babies, because we're seeing these videos of them streaming or whatever. And I'm saying, so how many of our students know how a computer, how a phone works,
Mhm.
a cell phone works, how to repair a cell phone?
At the conferences, the AI people are now saying, don't give your child a phone.
I know.
Good afternoon and welcome. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Peggy and Gert. I don't know the
Miss
is
Dr. Lucy,
teacher from
Dr. Lucy Jackson.
Go ahead.
Dr. Lucy Jackson.
Yes, that's my guess.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jackson.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, okay. I have a special love and affinity for teachers. Most of my teachers from kindergarten to 12th grade, we didn't have pre-K back in the day. For the most part, were female. I believe I only had 3 male teachers. One, Mr. Amadio Francis, a mathematician, my cousin. One, not Oral, I'm saying Roebuck, not Roebuck, it's a Roebuck from St. Thomas. Elmer Roebuck's brother taught me electricity. And Mr. Scipio had taught me physical education. So through all those grades, only 3 male teachers I had. the system today is still very much, I would say, not taking over, but it's just that females love to teach. It's part of the thing women do well. And males, for some reason, don't get into the field, even though they might get education degree, they're going to something higher.
Do me a favor, Nims.
Higher.
Do me a
Yeah.
favor to keep us on track.
Uh-huh.
We at this in this discussion want to talk about the system, not the people. Because as if you heard the intro, we're talking about the fact that the system is not really could do better to prepare our young people. So
Well,
we
yes, okay. I remember I just tuned in and I heard when the lady said, I have thought also. I didn't know. But I can come to any subject.
yeah, I know you can. That's what make a just swing you a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
So to help us out with that, what do you see
Yeah.
is needed for us to do in order to to shift this to the system to address and you for instance even your big thing about WAPA, hello, there are things that we can probably deal with in K through 12 that applies to preparing our young people to address our energy concerns.
Oh, yes, of course, and you're so correct. I'm glad you said me that way because I believe, particularly in education, which is the foundation that we all need.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that goes into that field, it has to be a labor of love. And no way you could have gone in there to get rich. They're going to make a big salary, like $500,000. It's foolishness. It has to be that you love to pass on knowledge and you love to teach people. I have said many times, I cannot do it. You ask me to write something, I can stay up all night and write 1,000 pages and give it to you. But I cannot get before a crowd and teach like how I see you teachers do it. It's to make a special. You all were paid for that. Okay? Now, particularly, and I'm glad you went to that because the other day, there's a group that comes on with Sonia Boyce and them that talks about, hold on, what it is.
Workforce development.
Yes. Thank you. Workforce development. And I tried to get into access if in workforce development. They're also looking in training students and young people for what the community needs. I mean, the community needs electricians and carpenters and cooks and whatnot. It seems to me that would be something the system would want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, yes,
a lot of our children, including mine, goes away and they don't come back because maybe what they see here and what they went away for, they can't see themselves coming back home and benefiting from it as far as passing on knowledge or making more than a couple of dollars. See, so the point I'm trying to make is that there has to be studies continually being done to see what is needed. Let's say the house authority is going to build 1,000 homes. Yes, we need carpenters, we need masons, we need this, we need engineers. So, I mean, that is my point. If it's sufficient, I would say that would be what I think.
well, you're talking about the need for us to develop and maintain our technical or vocational education school. We had, and I think you were around then, that we had the vocational school there by Complex. That was, I mean, it was fantastic when it first opened up there under Kurt VLA. But what happened is over the years, the government did not really put the funds into upkeep of equipment, upkeep of resources, and those type of things because we still had the instructors, but as the instructors retired, nobody came up because really the facility is at right now. I am not even sure how many programs are still left there, and I had a problem with the legislature looking at a bill to do what do you call it? A vocational college, a vocational. I think it's college they call it. And
Yeah,
my objection was, you have a vocational school that you're not maintaining and you leave it run down, and now you want to go to a vocational college. If anything, let's upgrade the school that we have.
you're right. But let me say this. The school that you talk about that called Bailey was headed. Before that, what we had was we had a plumbing instructor.
Yeah, we
We
had
had building.
industrial
We had
shop. We called it industrial shop, and it went from seventh grade to 12.
yes, industrial shop. Yeah, the shop. Let's say the shop. Electrical shop.
Yeah,
Masonry shop.
yeah,
Mechanic shop.
yeah,
Plumbing shop. Drafting and architecture
yeah.
shop. And
Upholstery, all kind of thing. Yeah.
yes, so the question is that is so basic and simple. Why in the name of God was maintained? And you're talking about going to that college for trades. Why? I mean, I don't know what is wrong with us. We think too big. We want to be too biggie D.
You know,
No, let me say this.
go ahead, but I was going to say you should have asked your political um, leaders in St. Thomas who helped to kill it.
Oh, you say Thomas alone and killing them? Okay. Well,
Well,
if
that's
no,
where the leadership was for the past 20 years. That the
well,
time
let me
and
tell
the
you
period
something.
when
Okay,
it
fine.
deteriorated, that's where the leadership was.
Good. And you know how radical I am.
Yeah.
Even if it's Ethiopian, listen to me. Even if it's Ethiopian, put them before Pirate Squad and I will pull the trigger. Me. You gotta need to be dead. If you're going to humble up and set them like that, I mean, Jesus Christ, we used to, as children, we used to go to what they call a bar. You go
Yeah.
learn this, you go learn that. Why would we not want to have that continue? Who in their right mind would stop that? They are not live if that's the way they think.
Well, let me get your answer on one last thing, and then I have to let you go. What would
No,
you
no problem.
what would be your idea, your comment to join in? Because presently we have two separate boards. We have the CTEC board that deals with vocational, and we have the Board of Education that deals with academic. What would be your comment as to have everything be under one board just to deal with the both areas?
No way, Jose. Keep them separate.
You got any reason you could tell me?
Well, education is education and academia and all of that, but when it comes to vocational training,
Uh,
that's a special skill. And it does not mean that this fellow that they put in charge of school means that he don't tell them before they tell him he's not qualified for it. So why they put them there, I don't know. You see the point I'm making? To me, the Board of Education is doing a good job. A lot more of the members need to do what you do. And when you tell me you go to a school and they tell you you can't come in and all this kind of stupidness, I mean, you think, what is this?
okay.
Who are we trying to help? The children or ourselves?
Okay. Well,
Okay, guys, because
thanks.
I'm quick.
Thanks for the comment.
Quick.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
okay.
comment.
I'm glad the conversation went there.
Go ahead.
That's one of my main reasons for coming to speak
Okay,
today.
go ahead.
Let me just give a little background about myself. Okay, you know, born and raised in St. Croix. Went to school here. Went away to study. Um, I have a bachelor's in liberal studies, which is all the subject areas, education. I have a master's in special education, so I was a special ed teacher for 32 years.
Mhm.
I'm certified with a master's in vocational special education.
Okay.
So it's not just teaching academics
Mhm.
to students with disabilities. It was actually focusing on what they can do with their hands,
Okay.
getting them from school, transition them from school to work into jobs. Um, I have a doctorate in education policy
Mhm.
leadership. So my whole focus with
You cover the whole
education,
thing.
yeah, it's the
Okay.
I guess you say you have a destiny or whatever. So I found my purpose because that's where I was being guided.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like to come and speak unless I have the facts. So we speak about the trades and we
Mhm.
speak about industry. And if we're saying that we're preparing our future generations to run things
Mhm.
for us when we can't do it and when we can, that means they had better be qualified. Yes, we have AI. Yes, we have technology that's impacting the way life is, but we still need plumbers. We still need carpenters and woodworkers. We still need electricians.
Mhm.
So, in looking at the board and its responsibility, because
Mhm.
I looked at both boards, the Career Technical Education Board and the Board of Education. In fact, at one point in my career, I was the program manager for Jobs for Virgin Islands graduates, which was a
Okay.
program run between Department of Education and
Mhm.
the Department of Labor. And I worked in education. I worked under CTEC. Miss Anna Lewis
Okay.
was the coordinator or supervisor of Career Tech at the time. And what that program was a work preparation program. It helped students to research careers. It taught them about workplace etiquette, etc.
Mhm.
That even sparked my interest more. So, in following through, I looked at the requirements for graduation. And I've been looking at it for over some decades now, and I'm seeing that it hasn't changed much. And most of it seems to be more academically oriented.
Mhm.
Now, like the caller said, coming up, we learned from the neighbors. We had to learn a trade.
Mhm.
Or let me put it this way: my great uncles
Mhm.
were all tradesmen. They were fishermen, they were construction workers, they were painters.
Wow.
They planted food, they raised animals, and but at some point in their upbringing, their parents send them to the neighbor or send them someplace in the community to learn trades.
Mhm.
Um, I read where even to the press and journalism,
Mhm.
some of them were sent down to the newspaper where they learned to do the
Mhm.
pressing and so forth. So this was integral to education and training within our culture.
It was apprenticeship before we even used the word
It's the
apprenticeship.
exactly. They learned within the community,
Mhm.
and everybody had to learn a trade.
Yep.
So I looked at profiles of outstanding Virgin Islanders the other day and realized that, yeah, a lot of them are politicians, a lot of them are journalists who were activists, but they were also carpenters. You know, they had some kind of trade under their belt. So I'm saying we need to get back to that. What do we need to do?
Hold your thought and don't lose your name. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon. A quick question. Education, the teachers and them have to have a degree. Is that so?
Yeah.
Yes. I think
If
so.
we have all these teachers with a degree and we still having such a poor showing in education. What would you say the problem is?
Thank you. It's a system. So let me get back to the system.
Are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, you hear
It's
question on here?
hard.
Yeah, did you hear me?
It's
What-
how the system is designed. It's how the system is designed because we have some really, really good teachers, you know, but it's how the system is designed. So I listen to people who have an accent. And in working with my doctorate, I actually work with United Nations Development Program. And I worked within a program that they were developing for health and family life education. And that took me and had me network with educators from all of the Eastern Caribbean countries, Caribbean islands.
Yeah.
So I was able to go into the schools and go into the Ministry of Education and see how things operated. And then as a historian, I know that there were times in our economic development where we imported
Mhm.
workers from the Eastern Caribbean because they were good tradesmen
Mhm.
in many areas, especially construction. So let me take Antigua, for instance. Built into Antigua education system is vocational training. Every student must learn a trade. Same thing with St. Lucia and other islands. So I'm saying, but I remember a time growing up where it was built into our system as well.
Yeah.
We had trades, we had
Yeah.
industrial education, and somehow we dropped the ball.
And the system changed, sir, in
Yes.
that what we have now is you have to take one or the other. It is no longer all inclusive. When in our time, as Mr. Jackson is pointing out, we knew a system that had everything inclusive. You had the vocational and the academic, but somewhere along the line, we just separated. And I know now children complain that they want to take a trade, but they're not allowed to because of whatever track they're on academically.
So how do we put it back the way
Well,
it
that
was?
let's just say the system and we need reform, but we don't have people who believe in reform.
So this is what I looked at. And again, I'm gonna say I don't like to come and speak out publicly unless I have the facts. So I looked at other states because we're United States. So I found information where there are a number of states' education systems within the United States education
Mhm.
system, public schools, that have industry certificate as part of the graduation requirements. A lot of them don't have just one high school diploma. They have like 4 and 5 or 3 pathways to getting a general education diploma. One of them would be probably college prep for students who going directly into college.
Mhm.
But then there are 4 others that focus on industry credentials. Okay.
Mhm. And I don't know if you paid attention to that, but when Mr. Gordon, can't recall how many years back that was director of CTEC at Complex. That was what he was doing. He was getting the different certification for the trades that was included, that when they graduated, they had the certification in certain trades.
So they still have it. So what I found is that 26 states who have considered the attainment of an industry recognized certificate as an indicator of career readiness in their K-12 accountability systems. 35 states fund these industry credential diploma, general ed diploma, using the local, state, and federal monies. Because if you really look at it, we talk about the separation of the career and the board of Career Technical Education and the Board of Education.
Mhm.
But actually, in looking at the history and how these boards developed, they were really created for that communication between the federal government and the local government. And when we're talking about the federal government, we're really looking at policy that is accompanied by funding.
Mhm.
So these boards were created specifically for that
To
flow
administer
and administer the
that
federal funds from the United States federal
Yeah.
government of education or whatever other department and agencies.
So, caller, we would ask that when you interact with anyone who is going to be a candidate for the Board of Education, and there are going to be 2 positions in St. Croix and 2 in St. Thomas, ask them their position on education reform. Because as we're pointing out to you, and Ms. Jackson is showing you here with our facts, it's the system, not the people.
So if we don't get the systems changed, we're continuing on a failure pattern.
You said it.
No, I don't accent because my thing is this here, we have to be able to redeem our people. And as we keep on saying, the children are the future. And if what we're producing is failure, then something is wrong. If we can't be effective.
Well, let me clear one thing though, because I always want to make sure that people understand our children are very intelligent. Okay.
I'm not saying not
They-
that, but
No,
I'm
no,
saying
no.
when they go and they get tested and we test them, we're saying that they're not come up on board. So I'm not saying a person can't be a fisherman. I'm not saying that. But when we test them through the school system is showing that they're not performing well.
Yes.
So we're talking about two different things. I can go out and fish and do well. But if I send you to school that you're supposed to be coming out reading and you're not doing that, then you're not doing well.
No, but I had to say that because for the listening audience beyond us, sometimes people misunderstand. So I just want us to think that it's not that we have a bunch of just failures. We have children who are very intelligent and many who are surviving or advancing regardless of the challenges with the system.
But I'm saying if we remove the challenges, could you imagine how they would soar?
Well, exactly, but that is
So
one.
all I'm talking about, let's remove the challenges, put whatever we have to put in place. So when our children even go off island, they're coming back down to find us for feeding them because they're too smart.
Yep. So
All right.
keep that in mind when you speak.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
So let me go back to the graduation requirements. And by the way, I keep focusing on the board is because the board is the one who have the authority to develop
Yeah.
the curriculum
Mhm,
for the from K through
mhm,
12.
mhm.
So the graduation, there are 26 graduation requirements in high school.
Mhm,
4 years of English,
mhm,
4 years of math.
mhm,
We're talking credits now.
mhm,
3 years of science.
mhm.
They have biology, advanced placement courses, and I'm still looking for the word STEM in here. History, 3 years of history, whether it's VI history and civics and US history, world history, Caribbean history. 1 credit in career tech, which is agriculture, hotel and tourism training, industrial arts, and health.
Mhm.
1 course.
And then people.
And then physical education,
Yeah.
1 credit. And then foreign language, 2 credits. So we get 19.
And
So again,
And just for the listening audience, I just want to stick in, and we wonder why we have a problem with finding laborers, with finding tradesmen and all and the like. We wonder.
so then I take it the other 7 will come from the pathways on a career tech side or from just
Electives.
electives or whatever,
Mhm.
right? So then I look at CTEC because when I was teaching, remember I'm working with students with disabilities who are
Mhm.
not necessarily academically inclined,
Mhm.
but I bet you they can work good with their hands,
Mhm.
a lot of them. So I look at the programs of study at CTEC. And at the time I was teaching, there were administrators,
Mhm.
about 4 different administrators came up that was pushing the concept of academies. And in these academies, you have a focus area. So let's take millwright.
Mhm.
And within millwright, you have certain academic teachers
Mhm.
who work with the millwright pathway.
Mhm.
So my understanding is that, okay, if you have the English teacher focusing on writing and reading and terminologies and so forth, it's terminologies that relate to
To
that
millwright.
industry.
Mhm.
The same thing with the math,
Mhm.
because here we have geometry and algebra. And if you look at the scores,
Mhm.
the assessment scores, the below average scores, especially in high school, is more than 50%
Mhm.
of the population.
Mhm.
So I'm saying, okay, but you still have to do algebra in 9th grade. And what are the failures in 9th grade for algebra? So if you're in an industry pathway, your math is focused on the math that is required in that industry,
Mhm.
whether it's measurement, having to do with trigonometry, etc.
Fractions
Right.
or whatever.
So that's the understanding of how these academies were formulated, because everything focuses is directed towards that career path,
Mhm.
right? So presently at CTEC, there are academies that were put in place.
Mhm.
You have the Academy of Business and Finance. Their courses include Principles of Accounting, Accounting 1, Accounting 2, Accounting 3, Principles of Finance, Business Economics, Business Law, and Financial Planning. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess that's the 7 additional courses.
Mhm.
Same thing with within that academy, by the way, there's a focus on accounting and accounting concentration. Then there's the business management concentration, finance, Academy of Culinary Arts, Hospitality and Tourism, marketing concentration, tourism concentration, culinary arts concentration. And when we're saying concentration and academies, we're talking about a series of subjects that are directly related
To the area.
to the industry.
Okay.
Yes.
To the industry, yeah.
We have the Academy of Health Sciences, which is very popular
Mhm.
at CTEC. Computer Engineering Academy, Agriculture Technology, Auto Body Technology, Electricity Technology, Aviation Technology, Millwright Technology. Some of them are 3-year programs, some of them are 2-year programs.
Mhm.
So my thing is, the frame is there to now start adding additional graduation requirements,
Mhm.
because some of them wait until the student reach 10th grade or 11 to put them into. And I remember when I was there, I had an administrator who was deterring them from even taking a trades class because they're messing with their academic courses. But it helps the minds to focus on something they love and they enjoy doing. Okay. Not waiting until they come out of high school to
But
want
the
to go
main
to
thing
college or
with the
trades.
main thing I see, I believe with education is the access to just to knowledge, wherever it leads you.
The
And this thing
opportunity-
about putting children in a track or the track they call it, yeah, I have a problem with, because you're limiting their creativity because they don't get to be exposed to all kinds of things.
Now, in my training in vocational education, there are steps for development, and within middle school area, which could be 6th to 8th
To eight.
grade,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be career exploration. In fact, that's how the junior high schools were set up, where you had home economics, you had agriculture, you had carpentry, and everybody had to take those courses. In fact, some of them was one semester you're there in one, and the second semester you go. That's the whole system of career exploration. So by the time they transition into high school, they have some idea of what they want to do. Okay? And the thing is, I'm just saying there should be additional options to a high school diploma rather than this academically inclined focus, which is preparing specifically for college.
I agree. Totally. But it is, like we said, it's the system and the people who are in charge of the system that's the problem.
And how is it possible? So I'm saying, okay, they need 4 years of math. Do I need to read the assessment scores up to 2024?
And you don't need the math. I can tell you
There
off the
was
top, the math
70
is the worst.
70% below average in almost
Yep.
all levels, grade levels.
The math is the worst.
And even saying 50% below average, it's 70% below average.
Um,
And where did I get my information?
the Department of Education website.
And also Kids Count.
Right. Yes. Right.
Kids Count
Yeah.
is very detailed
Mhm.
to me. Okay, so I'm looking at the math scores. Let me go to the most recent that they have, which is a
2023, 2024.
2023, 2024.
Mhm.
In St. Croix alone, 71.9% of students are below
Mhm.
average in math. The year before, it was 75%. And even say half of them is the majority of them. So we know from the data
Mhm.
that more than 80% of our students are not college ready.
Mhm.
If you look at the statistics from UVA, how many of them take remedial courses the first year or the second year? You know, and
Including the honor students.
we are our worst enemies because it's we holding back our growth as a people,
Yeah.
socially and economically.
Mhm.
Because some people get offended by the term, but it's the colonial way of thinking. We don't do something unless master said.
And we're
We
not
could do
looking
it.
to change it. I have a problem with the oh boy, I always forget the terminology they use. I always say remediation, but it's not remediation. You have a word for it. One period in the day when everybody supposedly getting some kind of
Fun.
some kind of assistance. I forget what they call the period. But my thing with the period is you're still dealing with a class set, whether it's 27, 25, 20, or whatever. And you're dealing with all of them in a group. When really all of them, while they might be all, yes, coming under the 70 something percent below, there are different areas that they're below in, and we're not focusing on where the weakness is to make sure to make and that's the problem I have. And I keep telling them only one school that we visited that is doing it different. And I congratulated the thing and I really got some cut eye for it from my colleagues. And that is Charlotte Amali High School. They're taken by grade, and as the lady says, she and all her assistants, administrators, they sit down and they go student by student looking at the data and addressing the student according to the data. That's what needs to be done. You can't just sit in one size fit all, which is what every other school is doing.
But from my understanding, it's built into the system now in what they call the individual learning plan. And this is what guidance counselors were instructed to do, to develop individual learning plan for students, especially those students who need help, who are struggling
And then they
to
put
get
them
through the system.
and they put them on the iReady program.
And these individual learning plans, the assessment scores supposed to be an integral part to help you develop the individual learning plan with the families. So the thing is, we have the stuff in the system that we need to correct, but what's the coordination? Because everything is fragmented. There's no unified system of handling things.
And we take the money that we get from the US Congress that we know we can use to help address the particular deficiencies, but all we do is we take what is called tier one. Tier one are the students who are the closest to being proficient score-wise. And we put tier one in a remediation. I don't know why I can't come up with the word, but a remediation group, right? Because if we got 30 students in tier one and they, adjust points, whatever percentage off from being assessed, then we can move that score, that data. And my thing, well, what happened to tier three? Because tier three is the worst. They're the really deficient one. It's like our government is concerned with the data, just moving the data, not necessarily moving the children.
So, in looking at the curriculum that was established by the board and comparing it to what's in the VI code.
In about 2010, I think is the last time they made a change. I think the last time they made a change was about 2010. And that is when they took the one course of VI history and the one semester of Caribbean history, and they put it all together in one course that they combined and called VI Caribbean, that is required in the 9th grade. And that is when too, they removed the 2 years, I believe it was, of the phys ed and made it one. That's it. And I might be wrong with the numbers, but that's when they decreased the requirement of phys ed, because I attended the meetings. I was not on the board at the time. And my thing to them was, we got all these children that really, bad nutrition or whatever, they, over the summer they just blow up. And we really want to just give them less PE and have them go into becoming, diabetic or whatever because of the bad. Oh no, maybe they'll join ROTC and that'll help. This is the mentality we have with the people who are doing the curriculum.
Okay, so if we're talking about the people who are doing the curriculum within the Department of Education, and we're going to look specifically at the Board of Education.
Yeah.
So let me look at the Board of Education.
Please do.
Let me just give a history
Go ahead.
of how the board developed in the Virgin Islands. So according to the VI code, prior to 1955, the Virgin Islands had a committee on education.
Mhm.
So now when I'm looking at the VI code, I'm looking at the people them who are developing these policies and doing the regulations to build the Virgin Islands government. And these are grassroots people.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we're talking about 1955 and prior to that, we're talking about people who came up here in the Virgin Islands,
Mhm.
who went to school, come back, study, and come back, and so forth, and became the politicians or the legislators or whatever. So they had a committee. We had a committee on education, and we had the two school boards, St. Thomas and St. Croix. In
They were
19
district boards.
district boards, exactly. In 1955, the Virgin Islands School Board of Education was officially established by law as an independent agency within the Department of Education. Independent, but still within the Department of Education for administrative purposes. They were granted the authority to recruit, hire, promote, and discharge personnel to carry out its own duties, to hire its staff. But the board's employees were employees of the department and had no power over the commissioner. In other words, they couldn't tell the commissioner to carry out their directives. So they're in the independent agency within the Department of Education. Today, the VI Board of Education is an independent agency operating outside
Mhm.
of the Department of Education that oversees the Virgin Islands 2 districts. So it's a joint board.
Mhm.
Its bylaws state that the board is responsible for the general policy and direction of education in the Virgin Islands. This is the power of our Board of Education. The board membership. Again, in the Virgin Islands, the qualifications for the Board of Education are the same as for a member of the legislature. You just need to live here for 2 years and you could run to be elected to the Board of Education.
The only restriction is you can't be an employee of the Department of Education.
Exactly. So let's go back to when the commission was formed. The commission consisted of 7 members. 1 member was the governor, was on the board. 2 of them were members of the legislature, usually selected by the legislative body,
Mhm.
or in some cases they were appointed by the governor at the pleasure of the governor.
Mhm.
The composition of the membership on the commission, you had them who came from parties, etc. But their qualifications were virtue of their training, experience, knowledge, or affiliations within the government, higher education, state education system, local education, and a lot of them were designated by the governor, but they had experience
Mhm.
with the states that we had looked at. We had, like I said, people from industry, people from manufacturing that were in the state. We had business entrepreneurs, etc., who sits on boards. At one point, the Commissioner of Education was on the Board of Education, but ex officio. At one point, the Commissioner of Education was the secretary of the Board of Education. So what I'm looking at is what is the qualifications for sitting on a board that sets policy for the direction of an education system?
Popularity. That's all that matters right now.
But the answer to the electorate. In some states, we have some of them that are elected. We have a combination, some elected, some appointed
Mhm.
by the superintendent, etc. So I'm just saying we have to look at the composition, number 1,
Mhm.
of the Board of Education. What is the responsibility and authority of the commission, which still carry over to the joint board today? Collect, correlate, analyze and interpret information and data concerning educational needs and resources. That is making decisions based on extensive research within the area. Develop proposals for adequate financing of education as a whole and at each of its many levels. Conduct or participate in research of types referred to in this article. Research necessary for the advancement of the purposes and policies. Utilizing fully the resources of national associations, regional compact associations for higher education and other agencies and institutions, both public and private. So which means looking at higher education. Formulate suggested policies and plans for the improvement of public education as a whole, and make recommendations with respect thereto available to appropriate governmental units, agencies, and public officials, which means networking. And I know that on our present board, there is a liaison committee. And I'm still looking in, trying to find out who the liaisoning with. You know, what are they looking at in terms of what are the needs, the skills, the trades needs, what are needed from our workforce today? You know, in terms of does our curriculum meet those needs?
I would say we're not liaison much because as you probably know, I was on the board from 2013, served 2 terms, then lost the election and just came back 2 years ago. When I returned, I realized a lot of change in that our committees, our standing committees, are totally closed to the public. When I was on previously, to his benefit, because when I went on, I was under Mr. Sua. He was the chair at the time. Okay, we invited the public to come join us when committees met in order to have the input from the community, and it would be anyone, you know, parents, educators, whoever. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, Peggy and Jackson, good afternoon again. Since I spoke, I haven't been near radio, so I haven't been listening. However, it's along the same line.
I guess he must be driving. I went in a bad area. Yeah, so good afternoon.
Yeah, the car drop.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Also, what I'm saying now, Ms. Jackson said it so aptly. And I mean, whether we like it as native or Islanders or not, the people from the Eastern Caribbean and as close as Tortola, they have more training in trade, skills, and crafts than we have. From back in the 40s, when they started building housing communities, I don't want to call them housing projects, communities, and let's say Pearson God. One of my eldest brother, he was born in Tortola, and my father came, they were recruited to come to St. Thomas because they were skill capital. And I mean, any trade and craft you can think about. I don't know if you know of, I mean, just for speaking sake, you know Miss Eleanor Blackman? She used to work for the House Notary for years, you know, Peggy?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, let me just say this quickly. She had her husband, we call him Blackie, a Bajan. Let me tell you, I think he started put aside, now when I say put aside, he can't do the mechanic work so well. But mechanics used to come from the States to ask him how to do certain things. I mean, that's just how skilled the man was. trade, and he probably, look at some correspondence courses and read it on the computer back in the day. Don't Google and Google and Google. But if you are gifted and you learn something, you retain it. You don't lose it. I mean, and that's how good. And I'm sure it's a very good Crucians and others likewise that are very good in their skill. And before I go, I would like to ask Ms. Jackson. Ms. Jackson, are you related to the Jacksons and St. Thomas?
I was told so.
I didn't understand.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. No, I think so because we are related, I mean,
Yes, we are.
wherever we're from, you could be from here up to the young, we are related. But I wanted to say something quickly what I said on Mario show yesterday. There was a gentleman named Anton Jackson. I understand he was from Frederickson, but he came to St. Thomas as a boy. And he worked for the power company for 40 years. And PhDs and master's degrees coming to the island, mostly white boys, couldn't tell him nothing about metering, okay? So their degree didn't do them anything. You have a degree, so you have a degree. I don't have one. But it's what you learn and maintain. And I mean, when I started to walk and walk, they used to throw away a meter hole in Parlour and Glasgow and pitch it down. And quickly, I said we gotta do something about that. And as I said in marriage yesterday, I ordered a meter testing board called a NAP board, KNOPP. It's like a deck. It's like a contraption. You can plug a meter into it. You can reset the register ratio. You can recalibrate the meter. And I had to bring back Mr. Jackson and contract to work that board and return thousands of meters to service rather than spending million more to buy more. But again, and like the last caller was saying, not the last caller, but the one before I left, why don't we do the things that make sense? Why don't we do them? Do you know Ms. Jackson, Ms. Moorhead? Why don't we do that?
I'm asking the same question.
The community need to be stronger in the advocacy for it.
What's the barriers? What's holding us back?
Okay, that makes sense. But then why? I guess you can't answer why are they not? Why can't it be 1,000 more of Peggy, Ms. Jackson, Mario, Brother Al, Brother Q? Why can't it be 10,000 more like us?
Well, if we follow what Ms. Jackson is saying, we have to first correct the system, so we can get. Well, like we said before, when we had all those people that you were mentioned, that we had a system that from about 7th grade, as I said, to 12th grade, you had a trade. You were learning a trade someplace. We disrupted that. We don't do that anymore. You have to get to my.
Papa Peggy, please, just bear with me.
Yes.
If it made sense and it worked, why don't we do it?
That's what my cat said. You go ask them leaders you had in St. Thomas why they disrupted, because I don't know why they didn't continue it. And the leadership, I mean, I'm not throwing the whole on, I'm not throwing blows. It is fact that it is the leadership of St. Thomas, the political leaders, that was controlling things for decades, not some Mr. Davis.
Okay. I know that and you know that. So what I'm going to do is wake up all Hartley and beat him to death.
No, he got the followers still over there. He got people who have people who follow them who still alive over there and anything.
I want to follow him, and I do not jump like that.
Well, hello.
Was my mentor.
Because you're not one of, as you refer to yourself, the dominant Democrats. Don't let me play games though. So go ask one of the dominant Democrats in the St. Thomas section why they took things out. Why did they take the industrial courses out of the education system from 7th grade to 12? Go ask them.
Okay, I gonna ask them. I gonna go by saying this. I'm glad, and you mentioned the word dominant Democrat. So I am glad, proud, and happy that there's a new model house, Highland ICMism with Cyril King. Okay?
Yeah, Harry the
Thank
judge.
you very much.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
You all have a good afternoon.
You do the same.
Mr. Nips, for your information, Rafi Jackson was once the Commissioner of Tourism. Yeah, he was my father. So I want to get back
Go ahead. Get back.
to the graduation requirements. That's my focus.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So under the graduation requirement policies from the Board of Education,
Mhm.
under section 17-4-3, the purpose for these requirements. This policy is intended to be a guide for the successful completion of secondary education in our public schools and ensuring college and career readiness as students pursue success in institutions of higher learning, in trade and technical schools, in the military, or in the world of work right after high school. This is the purpose, but yet look at the requirements that they have institutionalized. Okay, general information. It is generally assumed that each student will progress yearly from one course in a sequence to the next course in the sequence based upon semester performance, aptitude, and contributions to the class by or through. I'm looking at the assessment scores of the past 5 years and trying to find out where is the board. Because if they're looking at these assessment scores and they're saying they're looking at semester performance, they could see that the majority of their student population is failing. What have they been doing to meet the needs of our student and to provide student support system to bring them up to standards? Okay, so one, they said to bring the performance aptitude up to par, they're looking at literacy development, reading, writing, oral, and speaking expression, performing essential mathematics, business, and financial literacy skills for life enhancement. By the way, all of these are recommended by the BI Code, but I don't see any of them listed in the graduation requirements from 9th grade. The course of study from 9th grade to 12th grade, much less from 6th to 8th grade. Researching information about a variety of careers to assist in selecting career pathways, workplace, military, or academic options. By the way, I'm reaching the code yet that has provide for the allocations of monies for work ethic training, etc. Developing awareness of one's community and its need for understanding its history, political, social, and moral development. So we're talking about civics, VI history, if not Caribbean history. Engage in music, art, drama, literature, social issues, and recreation. Again, you hear that, social issues. When we deal with social issues, what are we talking about? Civic education. But yet it is not a mandatory requirement for a required requirement for graduation. Assuming personal responsibility and initiative for academic, moral, mental, and social behaviors. So I keep hearing for the past few years that we have an emotional something program within the school system.
You asked me about that.
To address emotional and behavioral intervention. When I was there, that's what it was called, behavioral intervention. Recently, I heard one of the superintendents mention that our students have social problems.
Mhm.
They have behavioral problems. They have
Mhm.
mental behavioral problems.
Mhm.
So, but I'm not seeing it
I have
statistics.
been advocating for years that every secondary level at least should have a social worker and a psychologist on the facility. They now recently, and that's why I don't ask you, said that there's some committee or program or contract or something that is dealing with the social, emotional something.
Well, when I was still teaching and up to when I left, there was the concept of social emotional learning and how it should be. In fact, we were being trained.
Mhm.
The last 2 years before I retired, we had training on social emotional learning. And I'm wondering, so where is it going? Because Peggy, as a teacher for 32 years, I got parents who will tell you I show up to their doorstep when their child wasn't in my class for 2 days or more. They'll tell you, I've come to their house, I've cuffed up their child, I've gone to their job because I'm calling you and asking you to come in for a meeting and I hear you responding, I come to your job because that was instilled in me as a teacher.
Mhm.
Okay. So my thing is, what are we doing to meet the social and emotional needs of our children? Which brings me, I can just say it in passing, to the influx of vapes and edibles in our schools. And in just on a high school level, we're talking from the primary schools and how it's affecting. We're seeing it on social media, and most of the states complaining about it, the availability of these things within our school system. And I'm still waiting to hear a statement from the Department of Education or even the Board of Education relating to that, because I know there's a no tolerance policy, but now we have to get more deeper because we've legalized medicinal marijuana, but we still have the access to these products, and it's coming into our schools and it's affecting our children.
If we have in our visits that we do, I make it my business to ask every school administration, because it's in the code. It's not actually executed, but it's in the code that we're supposed to have conflict resolution education. Okay.
Yeah.
So I ask, particularly even on the secondary level, because we now have a new position, well, fairly new, called the Dean of Students.
Mm.
And as I see it, the Dean of Students is quite appropriately suited to be the one to do conflict resolution education. Each time the response is, it's really happening after the conflict done happen that we then, give the instruction on how we could deal with the conflict. And it is sort of cold when I suggest, well, can we at least program that at orientation in the beginning of the school year, that we could focus at least on the incoming grade level to have conflict resolution instruction. It's a problem.
But the thing is, we can solve these issues.
Yes.
And let me tell you why I'm saying that. Because as an educator, I don't care what level, because I taught middle school, I taught high school, secondary high. Um, Teachers, administrators, everybody in the school could tell you what's going on in homes,
Mhm.
in individual homes. You could tell you what's happening in this housing project socially. We can tell you what's happening in a certain community that the school serves, what's
Mhm.
actually going on. So it's not like we don't know, but we're just playing blind and don't want to address it. And my thing is, if you don't address these issues, there's no way you will teach. There's no way learning and teaching happening within the school if you don't address the underlying issues that prevent learning and acquisition of knowledge. In my classroom, I
And
had a saying, if there's no discipline, there's no learning. If there's no discipline in the classroom, there's no teaching because you can't teach and everybody going crazy in the classroom, everybody talking, everybody doing this. How you teaching and your classroom in order?
there's a big difference that I have noticed between educators now and educators past, in that we identified a problem as concerned, with the home or whatever with the child, in order to find support if we couldn't do it ourselves, to direct and take the child. Because I remember I used to take children, because I learned that from that grade, to whomever or wherever they would get the help.
That have been needed.
That doesn't happen anymore. All that is happening that I see is the educators get the information, because it's like the same thing with the social media. It's a matter of melee, but not a matter of getting the information to help. And those are the things that I really don't know how to redirect, to change or whatever. Uh, Many times the teachers say they're overburdened, so they really can't spend the time trying to find children help. And that is something I can't conceptualize, because as much as we might have felt, overwhelmed with work back then, because we had less resources, we had, we had computers, and we found the time to help because we know it mattered.
You mentioned the dean of students,
Yes.
and I'm sorry I can't go in depthly into the roles and responsibility because I don't have the job description here, but we did look at it when we were doing our research into the education system. And one of the roles of the dean of students is to address those issues. And we can't say that services are not available because we have a number of nonprofit community organizations that provide the services. And everybody keep thinking, okay, the money and the federal dollars, because we had a lot of money coming into these programs, but you're spending it within the department, whereby you could contract the services because these nonprofits really care. That's why they're established.
But all we do is create new position and make the commissioners
Exactly.
level top heavy. Every administration adds
The
another
money's-
new position under the
The money's
department
going
of the.
into salaries. Yeah.
Yep.
When we have nonprofit organizations within the community that can provide the services, you just need to contract the services. And the thing is, when you're contracting services, you building in a checks and balances.
Mhm.
You provide these services now. Give us the data. Okay, that's your checks and balances.
That comes because of the politics. Somewhere along the line, administration or politicians realized that the Department of Education was suited for the place to put people that they needed to supply with a position. And this is where a lot of the exempt positions go. And it doesn't, as much as we spend more per student than the average on the mainland, it's not coming down to the children.
So show me the evidence where we say we're spending more for students, how much of it is actually going to student support services? Seriously,
It's not.
show me the
And
facts.
to point out, and as you were saying, by the VI code, this is where the board is supposed to have oversight. They have the authority and jurisdiction to work with the department to make sure that these monies are properly spent and focused where they needed. But the board doesn't do that. Folks, I'm a member of the board, so I ain't talking I'm talking what I know because I am there many times asking for us to send to the department and ask, can we meet concerning how can we execute this? How can we do this? And really, it is my colleagues who is like, no, we ain't going there. Okay, we have a call coming. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, again, just give me 2 more minutes. I have to go do something, but trying to make $1. A lot of people say to me, "I'm on the radio." I don't make the money by coming on the radio. I do have to run, fly my train. So I'm going to do that, but I really need to say this before I go.
Go ahead.
And to both of you ladies there, I want to wish you a happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you.
And again, if I had come in this world and there was not women, I was not going to stay.
You couldn't come because if you had no woman, you couldn't come.
Well, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. And I know who to big up. And I tell you, you got to give it to the women. My God, especially the women from the Virgin Islands, from the Caribbean area. I mean, you take an Antigua woman. If her husband gets in fight with another man, she pushes her husband in the back and she will blow them in. I mean, that's how strong they are. But the point I'm trying to make really is that, you know, we have a lot to be thankful common, but I still, and I ask people who got, I don't know, maybe geniuses, and they don't have the answer. If something works, why would you do away with it? I can say you add whatever phrase you want to add, but the basic ABC 1, 2, 3 work. Why in the name of God would you throw that out the window and spend millions? And these other things that literally no money was being spent on. But I suspect this is the way the world has to go until it comes to an end. When a lot of people say they're hoping it's soon because they're so fed up with it. And, you know, just if you could baby, let me just say this too. There's a lot of us that had gone into politics, but we had training and skills before politics. And I'll give one example now. One of your fellow Frederick Stallions that became a Centurion. Pop Sarro. You know Pop Sarro from Frederick Stallion, I'm sure. Lebron Pop Sarro.
Yeah.
He, of course, was Sarah King right-hand man. He was the administrator. In cabinet meetings, the governor would tell us, if upstairs you are committed to do something, consider that it's I, Sarah King, telling you.
Mm-hmm.
That if you come back and say, you ain't doing, you know where you live. So go. That's the kind of discipline we need to get back. And you are so right, Ms. Jackson. How can a teacher teach in an indisciplined environment? I have a daughter now. She got a bachelor's in education and a master's in early childhood education. She used to run a fleet with several schools, 6 or 7, what is called stay away from home or all these, you know, where you take your baby, you're the manager of these things. She decided, no, she wants to go in the classroom. And my God, every day she come by me after school. That child, she's only in her 30s. She's so upset. And yes, the fifth step, because she would have some very good students. She tried to separate them from the set of hooligans and they said that she can't do that. She would put the bully outside the classroom, send him to the office, and they would send him back. I said, so you don't know where you live? You come by me, you can work for me, and I can pay you more than they're paying you. And they're paying you no money. I mean, why are we turning away good people who are set up police? And then the parents of some of them worse than them, that they want to come and fight the teacher them and the principal. You see what kind of thing we got the on? God bless all you, Miss Board of Education, the first head, Miss Jackson with your PhD and your this and your that. God bless all you. I don't know what more I could say more than that, but I need to ask you, Miss Jackson, have you ever taught at the college or university level, and if not, why not?
No, I've never taught. I mean, I would
You
love
got a
to.
credential.
Yeah, I would love to, but yeah.
Okay. Well, you don't know me, but Becky could tell you I have brought up from another mother. So take my thing. Don't try to kill yourself at the secondary level and the elementary level. Please go teach at a university.
You think they're different? Not in the VI, you know. Because I know I years ago in my prime was after that, and I forget it was a Caucasian lady. She used to write for the newspaper and whatnot. Kept trying to encourage me to go teach at the college of the Virgin Islands. And I told the woman plain, I can't deal with grown up giving me that stupid excuse for not doing the work. That happens, you know. It ain't no different than the adults and than the children. The adults are come with the same nonsense. It's just that they ain't a dog, it's their homework.
The values aren't the same like when you were in school.
Exactly.
The values have diminished.
Yeah,
you know.
that's what it is.
Education is not valued.
Exactly. And that is what we need to work on. Bringing back the idea that education is valuable.
Yes.
The most valuable thing.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
Let me go by saying that since you're talking, I never went to the University of Virgin Islands. I went to the College of the Virgin Islands, which became the university. And some things I told them then, the professor at the time thought I was being out of place. And it was simple. I took electricity and architectural drawing in high school. I wanted to become an engineer, so I took a whole lot of math courses. Trigonometry, you call it, calculus, another thing they call quorums or some kind of thing, because I wanted to be an engineer. And I went to the College of the Virgin Islands and attended there, and the only thing they could offer me in the line of engineering was elementary surveying, using a transit to shoot angles. And that's the thing I've been doing with a bar from the time I was 12 years old. He wasn't sit up again telling me nothing. And then, because I asked the question, why aren't you having more advanced math and science courses to prepare our children for engineering? They don't know, we know that. I have me. They go forward to the state. I don't know what else to say. So Peggy, when you're exactly ready to march, I say what are you? I got.
Well, in the meantime, keep pushing the value of education. Thank you.
Of course, I got to do that.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
You know, I have asked administrators at CTEC why aren't some of the programs that they're listing actually in effect. And they were saying,
No
they
instructors.
say that they don't have instructors. But my thing is, when we had master carpenters and master engineers and master plumbers, they didn't get the necessary instruction in school. They learned hands-on from people in the community that
Mhm.
they had to go to after school. So I'm saying, so now we have a community that has master skills people. We need to reach out to our businesses and in industry and
I
whatever and start filtering our students out of
Here's the
the
problem,
institutions into the community.
because as a matter of fact, one the person is one of the candidates for governor presently. When we're in the Senate, I pitched the fact that look it, we've been trying for years to find how to compensate instructors in the trade, and each time, as I see it, is AFT that puts the block. So I said, it's time to do away with that and just take them out of AFT and legislate whatever. I was told by the legislator, uh, the colleagues didn't support it. I said, tell them that the educators don't vote. Okay? I mean, not, being very serious. Very few educators vote. And I know that from when we were in the AFT, there were those of us, the Rachel Canigata, the Anna Oliver, the Marcy Milligan, the Jackson. We did our work in our facilities to make sure our members registered and vote.
Yes.
Okay, that's how that happened. That does not happen anymore in AFT. So you have, and the evidence is there. You have educators who are not uh, involved in community issues. They don't give a damn. Really, they don't care what happened, you know, and that's part of it. So we really have to change all of that in order to make a difference.
Like I said before, we are our own barriers. Yeah, we are our own enemies. So let me look again at the Board of Education and its authority when it comes to the federal government and federal policies and federal funding. Under Chapter 3, Virgin Islands Board of Education, Article 21, Powers and Duties of the Board. It states that the Virgin Islands Board of Education has the authority and jurisdiction to, number one, recommend the establishment of public schools, prescribe general regulations and orders, adopt curricula and courses of study, recommend laws and amendments, recommend appropriations required for the operations of the public schools and the Department of Education, and in general, do anything necessary for the proper establishment, maintenance, management, and operation of the public schools of the Virgin Islands.
That's my favorite part of the code right there. Do anything
Necessary.
necessary. I keep repeating that with the board members, and all they tell me is, you always want to fight.
Number two, cooperate with the Office of Education within the United States, Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. And by the way, I think Trump looking to put back education with human services and so forth. In the administration of all acts of Congress relating to general education and administer all provisions of this code relating thereto, as well as any other legislation pursuant thereto enacted by the legislature. Approve plans for cooperating with the federal government in carrying out any or all phases of the educational program in which it may find cooperation to be desirable. And they've been getting audits. saying what's going on within the Department of Education when it comes to managing the federal monies and how much monies have been going out. And I keep asking, so why the board in intervening? Because they have the authority to do so. These are areas where there's need to intervene because the code said that they can.
We don't.
Number 4, provide again for the proper administration of funds which may be appropriated by Congress and apportioned to the Virgin Islands for any and all education purpose. And I'm going to jump down to number 7 in the same section. Do all things necessary to entitle the Virgin Islands to receive the benefits of all funds appropriated to the Virgin Islands under the acts of Congress referred to in this section.
And all
So
that
they can oversee
is
the
the
board
power
has the
that the-
checks and balances when it comes to federal funding. So then I question, so why hasn't the board been doing this over decades? Because it's
Yeah.
decades that the
they
board
have
hasn't been.
the board has just relinquished a lot of its authority to the
So
department.
then I look at the membership over
Yeah.
the years, and I find that a number of the members elected to the board have full-time jobs. So I would think, okay, they got other responsibilities, so they can't actively work on
That's
these
part
things.
of it.
But then they have an executive director that they hire, that they empower with certain responsibilities that they want to. So
The executive director is micromanaged. And people are talking. Y'all elect me to represent I talking because just yesterday we had an incident. Okay, the financial aid deadline has passed. Okay, the office is now how you can say preparing the cataloging that we do. What the office does is that in alphabetical order, it takes all the applications, and the number, if I recall correctly, I think was 780 that we've got. And they list them alphabetically in a big binder that each one of us get one, and it listed the applicants. It usually tells what university they have applied to or that they're looking to go to, what area or place of concentration they have, and GPA, which many times is missing. Okay, and that is being prepared. We were told by the office that it should be ready by Friday. Okay, so here it is. The rush is for us to get in to meet and do the selection. By selection, I mean to designate as to what student gets placed for what grant. You have the different grants like Carol Adams Aviation, quite a few of them. And they're called I'm trying to remember, the legislative scholarship list. That's what they call it, and they can find them on the website for the board. And we make the selection because when the students apply, some of them do indicate as to what they're looking and hoping they're trying to get it. And then there's also the particular area where the nursing is a 5,000 scholarship, and usually it's designated that we get 20 can be named from St. Croix and 20 can be named from St. Thomas. So we sit together and usually go through this whole thing, naming the candidates for each one of these different financial areas. Okay. The problem is, and this has been seriously going on for years, St. Thomas uses that selection method as a means, as I see it, and this is me talking, people, Mary Moorhead, nothing to do with the guests or the station, uses that as a way to employ that they gave the children money. So they go on what they call honors night, and they name the children the selections that they have been designated for. So they want the selection to be done for honors night, which is supposedly happen Wednesday, they said. So with that happen, it meant that we have to meet Saturday or Monday. I said, fine, Saturday. All kind of people got all kind of obligation. Okay, well, it come to Monday. But what happened? Because you have a job, and for some reason you can't, your job is not complying with the code, which says you get administrative leave to attend to the duties of the board you were elected to. You telling me we can't start till 5 o'clock. And I telling you, I really don't like coming from Christiansted in the night, going, especially with what the saying going on out there now with these people on the high, the carjacking and all kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I lose because the thing was, well, if all of we were retiree like you, I said, hello, you chose to run. Nobody solicited you. So in that doing, you know what you need to commit to. Well, we meet at 5 o'clock Monday afternoon to do the financial
Just a
selection.
selection.
Yes. You know, and I have been, and I'm saying this, people, because I'm sure those of you who listen to me know that you've heard me say before, for God's sake, if you see people running for the board, and this is not just board of education, board of election too. If they got full-time job, skip it. Move to the next one. Okay? Because the commitment is not there. The job comes first every single time. I got no problem with that. Your job is your job. But if that's got to be the thing, then don't hold up the position running for it. Let people who have the time, the commitment, the freedom, or whatever, the availability, leave it for them to get.
So
I
again,
done.
you notice earlier I brought up the requirements of being on the board.
Yes.
And yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to get back to the graduation requirements. They have here, and I'm looking for the policy that came directly out of the board's website. Okay, the section that speaks to the general information on the aptitude and contributions by class through the course areas. The students are expected to engage in music, art, drama, literature, social issues, and recreation. They're also expected to assume personal responsibility and initiative for academic, moral, mental, and social behaviors. Pursuing good health and physical habits by maintaining wellness activities. Yet we only have 1 credit requirement for physical education. So that means the 4 years that they're in high school, only 1 semester they take PE unless they're involved in extracurricular
ROTC.
activities.
Or ROTC, which, you know, has a strenuous physical type of.
Okay.
So you basically are pointing out, and I'm saying this for the listening audience, how our curriculum does not meet the needs of our community.
Exactly.
And this is what I have been saying. And this is why I ran to get back on the board, to still try to get the board to understand that we need to make the change. We have the power and the authority to do it. We can get the resources, the collaboration of the department and the university to do it. We even have people we can reach out to, former Virgin Islanders, all around the mainland or wherever, who have all kind of qualifications to assist to do it. But we don't see it as important. And by that I mean we, the board.
So I noticed we do a lot of talking and we have a lot of discussions,
Mhm.
and everybody has all these good ideas and talks about what's needed, what's missing, etc.
Mhm.
But then the question now comes down to who is going to carry the torch? Who is going to effect and implement? And even with the board, knowing that these issues, because all the documentation is saying what's needed,
Mhm.
but then what's happening? So I'm looking here. The department shall integrate the following content or programs into the curriculum. They're saying this now, but this it's not in the graduation requirement. Number one, Virgin Islands culture curriculum. Number two, Virgin Islands history curriculum.
Mhm.
Health curriculum that includes physical, mental, and emotional health.
Mhm.
Family sex education, drug abuse avoidance, and AIDS prevention. By the way, all of these are in the code.
And
That's
all of those
same.
existed at one time in the past and worked.
4, financial education, including teaching personal financial management skills and the basic principles of earning, spending, saving, and investing.
Mhm.
Key
Mhm.
to one of our downfalls within our community and the people that we're putting out there into the community who don't have an understanding of financial management.
And who do abuse their what do you call it thing? The the food stamp business.
This is
What's the word for it? The new food stamp. What the SNAP?
the social in
Yeah.
all the areas.
Yeah.
In all the areas. So right now I'm wondering with the new mandates that come down where you have to work, or especially if you're eligible to work,
Mhm.
what's happening there. So my thing is, yet they're putting it here, they're going to integrate it into the curriculum, but it's not one of the required courses for graduation. And we're looking at real estate appraisal for grades 10
Mhm.
through 12.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing it nowhere in the course, nowhere. And let me tell you, I come from a family, a great grandfather who migrated from Barbados, Johnson.
Mhm.
And he came here and he worked for as an overseer at one of the sugar plantations. And when the owner was dying or leaving, he allotted property. That was a thing in our history where the overseer or the supervisor got some property
Mhm.
from, yeah. So he got property, and on that property he had livestock, cows and pigs and
Mhm.
goats, and he used the livestock as asset to buy more property.
Mhm.
So we're talking about walkways, we're talking about pittoresque,
Mhm.
and we're talking about hundreds and acres of land that he used his livestock as asset
Mhm.
to acquire these property. In fact, I even have a document, a letter that he wrote on attorney New York, trying to get back property the federal government took from him by eminent domain
Mhm.
and classified as veterans land. Okay. Because back then in his days, we talking the 40s, the 50s, the 60s,
Mhm.
in our cultural history and traditions, where land was important, it was
Mhm.
valued, because that's how you establish your home.
Mhm.
That's what you can use for your means of income, whether it is livestock or growing food or
Yeah.
whatever the case. And back then it was sugar cane,
Mhm.
because he was growing sugar cane and selling it back to the company, St. Croix Corporation or something,
Mhm.
that took over the sugar cane industry and
VI
had
Corp or something.
VI Corp,
Yeah.
yeah, that had individual farmers growing sugar cane
Mhm.
and taking it to Bethlehem for processing, and they got paid. So I could understand why real estate appraisal and just learning about real estate, because what's happening in the community today, right now,
There's very few locals in real estate.
right now, we have families who are losing properties
Mhm.
that their parents and grandparents and great grandparents work hard to get and to maintain.
Mhm.
And now we don't have the Vajal Hillside who buying out our properties.
So again,
Right, just a while ago they had an amnesty. Come and see how
Yeah.
much is owed and the taxes on your property, because people flocking in here to buy up these
Mhm.
properties. What is the value of
Mhm.
land here? And it's happening throughout the Caribbean. Okay.
and all you read in there is that our VI code, established by ancestors, established the things that we need for our people to move on, to grow and develop. But it is we, the
These-
people, who are
The
not
founding
following.
fathers who established our
Yeah.
government and tried to establish a government system for the people, for self-governing purposes. That's why this code is so important to me, because they come in handed down from the federal government. This is our local people back in the days who saw the need. This is what we need to maintain. That's how we need. This is how we need. This is how our system should function for our people's survival. And then basic
Well,
agriculture
let
education.
me point out to you. I'll start at the bottom, because before school started, I went hunting, because I understood that we had a director of agriculture in the Department of Education. So I went hunting, looking for the person, found them, and the person was very happy to tell me of her plan to have three schools, which I think has been established in St. Croix, and three schools in the other district that are going to be supplied, and I guess they use federal grants, with all the resources, equipment, materials, whatever, to do aquaponic fishery business, whatever. Well, no man see my face drop one time. I said this. I got nothing against, yes, fisheries, all in agriculture, but why? You all always want to bring equipment to put on farmland. When every school in St. Croix, anyway, have acres of farmland surrounding. St. Thomas is the same, but St. Croix. So why aren't we taking advantage of that to expose our young people to what agriculture could be, that their mind could, you know, get invested in it, and then show them the different things that exist in agriculture outside of the soil itself.
Every year at the agriculture fair, I make it a point to check out the school exhibition.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that every year, especially with elementary school, because I'm just intrigued with the creativity and the talent of the
Mhm.
students, especially on the elementary school level. And when I speak to the teachers who are there at the exhibitions, and I'm hearing, I actually spent my own money to do this. This is my project. My administrator doesn't tell, this is my
That's how it
interest,
happens.
and this Yeah.
That's how
So,
it happens.
Again, we're looking at the people within the system and how committed they are
That's how it
in what
happens.
they're doing.
That's how it happens with agriculture. That's how it happens with VI and Caribbean history. That's how it happens with the things that matter. It's always a teacher or a group of teachers who have that interest,
And
that commitment, and they put their time
going
and
over and
money in it.
beyond.
Yes,
Exactly.
but it does not come. It's it's by circumstance that the new school I have a pool. Okay, and I get beat up for it every time it comes up because I was a member of what they called the uh, board or the commission of new construction advisory at the time. I wasn't chosen to represent the board, but I took it upon myself to contact the commissioner and ask to be a community representative, which she accepted, and that's how I got on the commission. And when they got to establishing just about everything where the design was concerned, I pointed out to the commissioner and the architect the VI code that says 1 year
Absolutely.
of swimming and water safety
Yeah.
that we have never implemented. And I said, we are surrounded by water and children drowning all the time, adults even. We need to address this. And that they agreed. And when I heard they were cutting because they were overexpended with the new school, I thought that they would cut them, but and I got in contact with the architect right away. She assured me no, the pool was not being cut. Because my thing is, not only is it important for the safety of knowing how to swim, it leads to Olympic situations. Huh? Now, they say they're going to have more because it didn't come to Olympic size, but they say Central High will have one and have one that brings it up to that status. We will wait to see because there are people in the community, believe it or not, who are objecting to a pool in the school.
Well, I can tell you when in my 8th grade year at Elena Christian Junior High School, they had built a pool right across from Kennedy Project in that open space there. There was a pool, and I think that was from the PE teacher who was then Miss Pickard. She later became a senator,
Mhm.
Senator Pickard.
Yeah,
But
Marianne.
Marianne Pickard, she pushed for that swimming pool
Mhm.
because of this code, this policy. But it was the maintenance of the school why the program was discontinued.
And they're talking about that because it is requiring a specific set of staff to deal with the pool area. But I mean, it's like, you know, we spend money on so much other things. Why is it we always qualify something wrong when we need money to deal with providing for our children?
So, haven't you noticed that throughout the years, most of the problems with facilities and so forth is maintenance, structural maintenance.
And I
we
am,
want to do the maintaining after the problem happened, but we ain't doing no prevention.
as a matter of fact, I think today education hearing is taking place, and I'm hoping because at the Central High Ribbon cutting, I did connect Mr. Benjamin with Senator Francis and Senator Potter because he announced to me when I asked Mr. Benjamin, is everything in place to start work June 1st? No, Miss Moorhead, money shot. So I grabbed him right after the program, took him to Francis and Potter and said, we got problem that need fixing because this man got work to do this summer, but he shot some money. but I don't know how far he'll get because his code was 16 million.
Mm.
So we will see what happens if that will be met. But I do hope that at least they'll prioritize and take care of the ones, as I always say, take care of the ones that impact the learning and the teaching.
So, let me tell you about my experience after Maria Hurricane 2017. I think it was.
Yep.
When the teachers were out, school was out because the schools were damaged. I was at Complex High School at the time. And I was told, well, Dr. Jackson, your classroom is not up to par, the windows, the blinds, and so forth. So I went to the maintenance team at Complex. And I said, listen here, we could repair our own screens. We could put in the winders for the
The
windows,
operators,
the
yeah.
operators. There's some minor things that need to be done. If I can get you to come to my classroom, if you could just find the time
Mhm.
and show us how to do this, I could get my students to
To
do
do
the
it.
repairs. So anyway, they had buy a bulk of
I think I know what
screens
coming.
for
Yeah.
the windows, but they weren't finding the time
Mhm.
to redo the screens. So one morning, it pouring rain, and they can't do nothing. My class that right next to their shop,
Mhm.
the maintenance shop. I drove up. The maintenance supervisor came out. Ms. Jackson, you could bring the students. Now this is a good time because we can't come out of this area. So I got my students walk right over there, and they learned to do the screening for the windows, and they repaired all the screens in the windows. Then another day he came back with the winders, and he
Mhm.
showed them to put in the winders. And they were on clock because they were doing something that was they were using their
Made them feel
hands and
good.
they didn't have to use much of their mind.
Yeah.
We were putting up mirrors and repairing cabinets and he was teaching them the measurement right there on the spot, and it was easier than them looking in a book and trying to calculate.
Yeah.
They were measuring, this is the size we need to put, this is how you mark it on the etc. Hands-on learning
Yeah.
and use our students. Okay, the gentleman, Mr. Nibs mentioned his daughter putting out a student out of class because it was disrupted. I give thanks I was a special ed teacher because we have a policy that says
You can't put
if
'em out.
if the student behavior is disruptive to the learning of the other students in the class, then you have a right to remove that student.
Okay.
Okay. So my concern was, yeah, he disrupted the entire class. He got to come out. But where he gonna go? Where they gonna put him? What they gonna do? They're gonna have in-school suspension. What are they going to do?
Mhm.
And that is the time to think about the hands-on learning, the opportunities to assign them to the maintenance team to learn to do something with their hands.
Mhm.
Because once they're focused, it kind of curtail behavior. And I'm speaking from experience. Once you occupy them with something they enjoy doing, it's
Yeah.
a focus, it's like a meditation, and you have less behavioral problems.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's just a matter, it's reform, it's restructuring the whole system. And the thing is, we said it can't be done,
Yeah.
but we don't even try. Again,
And discipline too has to deal with just understanding behavior because it didn't work with everyone, but many times when a student was disruptive, and usually it would be the bullying type, I would take that child and tell them, look, kid, walk around and check to make sure they're doing the work right. All of a sudden, you're chief. It worked sometimes, not all the time, because naturally, sometimes the power would go to the head. But it did establish some type of, and eventually they would come around.
responsibility, yes,
Yes.
yes, because
Yeah.
it gets them
But
thinking.
nowadays, again, it's quicker for people to just put somebody out rather than deal with the the behavior. And this is because really there's a lack of support behind, which is something else I noticed is different then to now. We did with the counselors have some type of a backup support where in dealing with the children, you know, insofar as they giving you information as to she is so and so is this and this household is this way that to give you information to help you to understand where the behavior is coming from,
Exactly.
which I don't see happening now. There's that lack of, well, I see it as a lack of communication. It might be more, I don't know, because I'm not spending that much time in the school facility. But again, it's a matter though that I see educators are just focused. I teach in math, that's it. I teach in science, that's it. I ain't got time with nothing else. And I don't know how we adjust adjust that other than, and that's why I say for the at least the secondary level to have a social worker and a psychologist that if anything these children can be directed there to get help with whatever it is their challenge.
So I love talking education with you. Again, I'm thankful that you finally said, okay, Lucy, you could come. Why you don't come? Okay, so I'm here today, but I'm here because I care. Education is one of the most, if not the most important influence in developing a community, in developing a village. And we need to value it. Our community needs to get back to valuing education because it was valued back in the 50s and the 60s. And uh, um,
And people, the mission behind the invitation is that I want Miss Jackson to consider to be an aspirant to then come to be a candidate to join the Board of Education. So if you just remember the name, if it happened to appear on the ballot, okay, Lucy Jackson. And we ain't finished, we still talking education. But I thought it was appropriate at the time to get that in. Because as you have been listening, she is definitely knowledgeable. Free, right? You're retired.
yes, because 7 years now, but I ain't really retired because I've been doing my research. I've been asking the questions why and
Understood.
why not? What are the hindrances? Is it possible to really get education to function like it's supposed to? Is it really possible to instill in our young people and to guide them to be the leaders of
I'm
tomorrow?
not going to put you on the spot to come up with any answers you could share.
Well, the research I did, I look at the board and the responsibility of the board and what's the hindrances, what's hindering the board from performing its duties. So yeah, from what I've been seeing them do over the years, but not being to fully implement is because the requirements. How many of them have full-time jobs? And then how many of them really in thinking out of the box? This is a new age, a new time. And you're hearing that generally in all states that we are, as a people, we are 300 years behind what technology is actually doing. The people in technology, 300 years. Could you imagine how far back we are in our education system here in the Virgin Islands?
To answer one of your questions, the board is made up of 9 members. 3 of us are retirees. Everybody else got full-time job. And full-time job in very important departments.
I heard, yeah, I heard a member of the board in a hearing just last year state that they don't have the staff that they need to carry out what needs to be done. You know, they don't have the budget, etc. So that's why
We got the budget. As a matter of fact, we got the budget that we have as a lump sum, which I have a problem with, because all we do is, we move the money around to accommodate what we want to do, depending on what they choose to do. But we have the staff because we just this year added on the associate director, who's the number 2 person stationed in St. Croix, and that's Miss Kimberly Giroux. Very qualified, very much committed, but used in areas that really is not serving what we
The
should be
needs.
doing.
yes.
Yeah. We have the only thing that we're missing, that, believe it or not, is what a member is using as the reason why we have not met and dealt with policy at all this year, this term, is a researcher. Now, it baffles me because we never had a researcher before, and we dealt with policy. There was only one time that I remember that we had somebody come in as a summer intern to research some things, but we never had a position of a researcher on the board. So it's baffling to me, but this is what happened, and we have not dealt with any, although we met once because we were asked to choose 3 items, 3 policies that either needed to be revised or needed to be written. We did that, and we came with 3, and there it sits. Nothing has been done. And one of them is the very important electronic device policy that everybody agrees needs to be adjusted. But we ain't adjusting it because we ain't a researcher.
So who's supposed to move these things forward? The chairman?
Really? I can't tell you, I don't know, because I follow things according to the code and parliamentary and Robert's rules, which don't apply with nobody.
So
It makes sense.
earlier you mentioned the scholarships program,
Yeah.
the loans and grants
Mm-hmm.
that the board oversees.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a clause somewhere that says if you receive
Mm-hmm.
any of these financial scholarships,
Mm-hmm.
that you are obligated
Mm-hmm.
to give back to the Virgin Islands in terms of 2 years of services.
We don't follow that.
So that's my question.
We
So
don't follow that.
who is monitoring that and how many? Because I know we've given out throughout the years, we've given out hundreds of scholarships. How many actually returned and did that 2 years of service
We don't keep the
as
record.
agreed to in the contract?
At
An
There was-
application.
at the point where I served for a short time as chair of the board, okay, I made sure our staff at least got up to date the records concerning the Morris de Castro scholarship, okay? And after that, all of a sudden, when I returned, the records seem to have disappeared. So nobody is following through. But I remembered one applicant, very high up in the government, who got their scholarship and did an online study, which I really wasn't in agreement with, $45,000, and you going online. But at any rate, so when they return, the time has passed. So I asked, well, because the person isn't back, I said, anything doing with this? Oh, well, we ain't gonna record about that. Okay. So really, the government is just flinging money out. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, Mary, I'm back. Jackson, let me ask a question. Have you?
You can a question to my guest. My guest today, you can't ignore my guest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mr. Jackson.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. How much have you done, ma'am, with grant writing and federal grants and available federal dollars?
I haven't done much with federal monies. I've worked in
Okay.
programs that utilize federal funding, but no. But I've written grants. In fact, all my programs and projects that I did as a teacher, I applied for grants. I didn't ask the Department of Education to fund anything because it became a
Okay.
red tape. But who funded a lot of my programs, especially with the students I worked with, students with disabilities, is like Mid Island Rotary, the Humanities Council. At one time, they had the arts. Yeah. So those are the places that I applied. Even the Sequoia Foundation for Community Development. I did a research on reading and compared the general ed population to my students with disabilities who were on a specific reading program. And that was funded by the foundation.
Okay. But you said you haven't done a lot, but that's a lot to me.
Yes, to me too.
Well, that's the point I was getting to. Because some folks that continue to say, I don't know, try to convince me, but I know otherwise. Because right now, when I told you all I had to go make some money, what I was doing is a federally funded grant program and an engineering company that I work with. That's for with. We training upcoming young students that want to be engineers. And the FPL, Florida Power and Light, walked along with us. So I took them from one area, they were doing some work, I took them to a substation where I want them to learn about sectionalizing. And there's a thing called a SCADA computer system where the power plant would talk to a substation, like if there's a fault in the line, it's like talking about which switches should we open? And through the computerized system, and they would open a section and like you could be walking on one side of a pole that got 159 kilovolts and then hot, and the other side there. Because you have all the equipment and what's not, and so to deal with this type of high tension work, otherwise people would be there every day of the week. But you have to, again, it comes through education. Education is the key. And you have these things where I mean, for us in the Portland, well, them things are expensive. You have to do it, or you're going to be killing people there.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
This project that you said you're doing, will the people that you're training become certified? What credentials will they receive when they finish the training with you? Because it's like an apprenticeship.
It's an apprenticeship. They would get an advanced certificate which would bolster entrance into maybe Howard University School of Engineering or some other engineering school. It would act like credit towards them getting a bachelor's degree. And even go further than that, they want to get a master's degree, a PhD even. But what I keep finding happening in the Virgin Islands, and with Department of Education particularly, the federal funds keep being taken back because they are not using the funds for purposes as intended, or they're not following the guidelines, the CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations, as to the deadline for doing X, Y, and Z. Then the question say, the federal government takes back the money. But now we send it back, you send back. We take it back because you're not using the money properly.
So
And I'm not diminishing any one person or group of education. I know for a fact there are very disgruntled employees in Department of Education because they cannot work to their fullest potential. They are being held back. Don't do that. We want to apply for that back. I mean,
Mr.
don't know.
Nips,
let me tell you something. Even though, and thanks to Mr. Trump, when I said thanks, I mean no thanks, the fact that the war in Iran is costing us $1 billion a day and adding to the $40+ trillion deficit, there's still federal funds available.
yes, there are, especially in vocational career technical education. Just like the Board of Education was set up to monitor and do the checks and balances of federal funds, so was the CTEC board. And specifically, that's a specific reason for organizing the Board of Career and Technical Education to monitor funding, federal funding coming in for vocational training back in the days.
Right.
And ain't no little bit of money that the federal government was putting into vocational training.
Thank you.
So that's why the CTEC board, one of the primary responsibilities is to monitor how those federal funds are being used.
You have to monitor it, and there must be accountability.
But this is why, Mr. Nims, I asked you earlier and saying about the idea of just having one board. And, I mean, the Board of Education is now 9. So if you was to put it to like a board of 13, and you would have within the Board of Education a committee that is with deal with the trade, but the thing would be what, so that you would have more cooperation, more collaboration or whatever. I just don't see, because now they're really directed and controlled by the Department of Education,
So let me tell you, there was a time in our history, and it's noted in the VI code in one of the historical annotations about the board for CTEC. There was a governor who tried to put CTEC under the Board of Education, and they told him that it was illegal because the CTEC board needs to be in place primarily for receiving the federal funding for CTEC.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a governor who tried to
But
do
that's
that.
not. But that's not happening.
And
The
they-
funding is
they
going
appealed it.
straight to the department now
No,
because the department in control.
because CTEC come under the department, different from the Board of Education. It doesn't function as a separate entity. In fact, there's a CTEC Career and Technical Advisory Board,
But
and
this
all of them is built into. Where is the CTEC office? It's
is
especially,
science farm.
That is
but
so
it comes
wrong.
under the board. It comes under the Department of Education.
And
You
it's,
know, but let me say this. The governor did something that I suspect. I don't want to say he tried to correct something like this,
let me
You don't have
just
to spend no time on that.
let me just correct you with something, Mr. Nibbs. That was not the governor. That was a legislator who brought that bill, that idea in a bill, and put the
Yeah, but
and put the bureau
and
and put the bureau under the office of the governor. The governor didn't.
Maintenance and construction, yeah.
okay. But the governor, why did he have to accept it? You tell him it's wrong. I'm big time.
Well, you know, that's a good
So,
question.
back-
I did suggest, and there's some people who going along with it now and saying that they need to change it, because my thing to the legislature at the time was put it under public works, because public works has all the different trade area, all the careers that needs to function in construction, maintenance, and repair.
but no, Peggy, hold up.
Yeah.
You're talking about public works when it used to be. Public works right now is a commissioner and a secretary in that big building. Everything is contracted out.
Well, then we need to change all of that too. That's the point.
Exactly. And
And-
when I heard the foolishness under the office of the governor, and the very gentleman that was before the legislature said he has none of them qualifications, but because of politics, he get a job. Now he's balling, he don't have the tools, he can't do that, he's not getting the support, he's not getting this. I mean, we're going backward, or where we going? Sideways, where we going? I don't know. I know one thing. I don't think it can continue this way for much longer. However, I keep being reminded, if the dominant, and I'm not talking about regular Democrats, if the dominant Democrats have anything to do with it, it's going to be that way forever, Larry. And they want it that way because it suits their purpose.
Well, the mediated agreement was step one.
Well, we'll see, my son. I don't know, but
So,
I believe.
Well, it's being challenged, so we'll see what happens, because the three who had were asked to intervene and was denied have now filed a lawsuit against the board.
Understood.
Yeah, because the agreement obligates the board to do certain things, but the board had no say in the decision.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
But the problem I had with that was, here you have a legal counsel sitting with you, but does not correct you or pull you up to let you know, look, you need to go back to the other 13 members before you sign this thing. And that is the part I don't understand.
Well, maybe I'm going to come by saying this. That then tells the whole story as to why a group, including myself, has been dealing with the feds to come in and arrest people and do not try them in local courts, because Tukmun Bagay is the same thing. It's full of dominant Democrats. They all are Masons, and they're not going to prosecute their own. So they got to be prosecuted in federal court. Unfortunately, but it has to be done.
So we're looking at arrest in December?
Another one?
Nobody to arrest. Arrest the mother, we have to arrest you.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
No, but I mean, right is right and wrong is wrong. My point is this. All we are hunted is the chair on.
Yes,
That's who we hunted and keep it down.
definitely. And running off, because those as fast as they finish, they are tailing it out. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Well,
Thank you. Continue, Ms. Jackson.
So I read in one of the newspapers about a hearing whereby they have all of these capital projects that need to be construction projects that they have plans to complete
This summer?
I guess for the next what, 3 to 5 years.
No,
This is
because as
definitely-
I understand it, any federal monies that still is available only got 2 years left. That's why I keep telling people this election is critical because we have to definitely get select people who are going to jump out there and make sure things are done properly. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies. Listening to the program most of the afternoon, very good program.
Thank you.
I was calling, in my opinion, those agencies like Office of Gun Violence, Office of Disaster Recovery, the one that's having the problem now with materials and things. Those agencies were created to give certain people high paying positions. That's all they were created to do. They're like an albatross and the government's neck to pay out those salaries. That's just my opinion. But what I was calling about was the educational grant. I have like some questions like who decides who gets that grant? Is it done when the final decision is made? Is it done as a forum with all the board members, or just one person decides who is going to get a grant? And how is it taken in? Who receives that grant? Is it based on the financial needs of the family? How is it based? And the qualifications for receiving a grant. And another question, oh God, I forgot it that fast. The percentage of default in paying back the grants, is it a high percentage of default? Also, what does the board do? What methods do they do to so that they can recover the money that was given out in a grant? So I'll hang up to here and so I guess Ms. Moorhead can probably answer those questions.
Okay.
So thank you for a very interested and excellent program this afternoon.
Thank you much.
As
Thank
you
you.
see, this is it's Pinky Marva.
Yes.
You don't know my voice.
Yes, I
Okay.
recognize your voice.
Cute. I'll listen out for the answers.
Okay, all right.
Bye.
Will do.
Thank you.
Going to try my best here. Starting with the one with interest is the standard interest, and she asked it. I trying to remember the figure. I think it's standard is what 8% or
I think
I'm not sure as to the number, but it's the
6%
standard,
something.
whatever the government standard interest is.
Yeah.
And that does not apply until after graduation. That's when you start paying.
Of
So,
graduation from the
from-
post-secondary institution.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
After you get your degree from whatever institution, college, or whatever
And
you
it's
go
a year
to.
after.
Yeah. The next thing is the selection is done by the entire board members. It's a bit it have to do with quick to the draw because what we do is we sit together and really this Monday I think might be difficult because I didn't hear anybody say if we are going to fly to St. Thomas or if St. Thomas is going to come to St. Croix, because it is important that all 9 of us is in the same room. Because what happens is, say for instance, the first one come up is Carolyn Adams aviation grant. And all 9 of us are sitting there with a name. Usually they have the names according from the office as to the ones who may be asked to be considered for the grant. But then there's also people, board members who have information, whether it's from parents or their own information that they're looking to throw in a name. And it's a matter of you jumping up and saying, Mr. Chair, in order to be recognized first, to be able to get your name out first. And the selection, the grant, usually it has maybe two spaces, well, depending on each grant is different. Some of them might have for four
Or
students or
2,000.
two, yeah, and then they always have alternates because sometimes things come up that for whatever reason all documentation is doesn't come in, so then a student is eliminated, and the alternate have to move up. But it goes like that, and then at the end the board makes a motion to accept the choices that were made, and that's how it happens. Basically, the selection. What else did she ask me? Um,
The criteria for.
okay, the criteria
and
is
who does it,
is supposed to be your area of study, okay, and your GPA. Um, Miss, don't take me to thing with this one, guys. This is my personal thing. Okay, many of the information, the GPAs are always missing, and I have a problem, especially with children who are repeating, who are already, in college or whatever. But even with high school students, because my thing is, everybody got GPA. So why is you telling me that we don't have the information and all these students area with the GPA is blank? So we basically just going, usually it's by who you know. Okay? Plain and simple, being very honest by who you know. I from the time I've gotten on, I always look at, like I said, as to what the child is looking to study, where they're looking to attend, and the GPA. Those are the three things I look at. But for the most part, that is not necessarily the criteria for selection. The criteria is
Mhm.
the contact and
Family.
yep, yep, and that's how it goes. Um, I think I get everything. I believe I got. If I left out a question, you could call back and think me up on it. But I think I did answer everything that you asked about. And basically, as I said, that selection is going to happen on Monday. So anybody who happen to be hearing me now and have a child in college or graduating who made an application, because that's the main thing. If they didn't apply and the application deadline was closed April 30th, well, then it's too late. But if they made an application and there's a particular um, area, a particular scholarship that they're looking to get, I suggest that you use the email. Remember, you can contact any board member by myviboe.com with the first initial and last name, okay, at myviboe.com, and to just put it out there that, your child or your relative or whatever, so and so, give the name, because that is what is important. They need to know the name. And as I said, as long as you know the child did do an application, well, then it's possible if they get in the name before everybody else. Because I remember when I first got on the board, I sat there and it was like, finally somebody said to me, "You ain't got nobody to call?" And I said, "Well, I ain't getting that. I ain't getting that time mean because I would be there with my hand up and my hand up forever. I never get called on." But it's something to look at. But basically, that's it. Right? So, anything else you would like to add in, Ms. Jackson? I want to make sure that my listening audience get the benefit of your knowledge, your expertise, because as you pointed out to the people, you have done lots of research where the Virgin Islands public school education is concerned, and I am glad that they're hearing a new voice. As you know, sometimes after a while, people get uh, too familiar with a voice and they don't believe, or they take it with a little grain of salt. So when when it's said from a different source, it comes like new. So anything at all that you want to make sure that you think our community needs to know where our public school education is concerned, I plead with you to please take the time and just make it known.
Well, Peggy, I've always considered you my mentor,
Okay.
because when I was going through my discriminations and um yeah, within the education system, for whatever reason, you were there for me, especially as the union rep. When I needed guidance on certain things, you were there for me. Did you? I would come to. So I've been considering your being Army. Why don't you run for the board? I need your help with the board. So I just want you to know that I have seriously considered it, and um seriously considering running for the board of education for this election. So I
You
just
made my day. You
want to
made my week. You made my
to know.
month.
um relative to signatures and speaking with people, I find that there are a lot of people, especially here on St. Croix, who
Mhm.
aren't registered to vote, who are just totally disappointed in the electoral system, who disappointed in the elected officials.
Tell me, do they fall the majority in a certain age group,
Yes,
or is it all the way, all over?
as the younger ones. Yes, the generation after me, and I mean that's not saying much, but there are a lot, and it's
Yeah.
young and old, who just don't have any faith. And I always look at historically the people them who made sacrifices for us to have this right.
Mhm.
The women who went and campaigned and went to Washington for us women here in
Yeah.
the Virgin Islands to have a right to vote.
Mhm.
And just throughout the United States, period, the struggle for us as a people to vote.
And
Our
the fact that everything looking to reverse now.
and it's reversing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, history. Look at history. It tells you where we've been, where we're going, and somehow we've dropped the baton.
Yeah.
We're not carrying out what we need to do to make sure what happened in the past doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Right now, we're looking to lose our properties. We're not preparing our younger ones for the future. We're not
Mhm.
equipping them with the skills and the mental, cognitive processing that they need to
Yeah.
have to be responsible and contribute
Mhm.
to our community and to continue to move us towards self-governance
Mhm.
and survival.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm gravely concerned, and I just want to put it out there that if you vote in the last two elections, do whatever you need to come to vote this time,
Please. Yes.
because we're losing it.
Yep.
We have this thing, or they call them migrants or whatever, and when you look at it, a lot of the people, we're a melting pot, and a lot of our people came from the neighboring islands.
Mhm.
And why did they come here? For better life. And me as a teacher, I realized there was one point where I'm looking at these people move here because they want a better life, the United States, the American system,
Mhm.
not just economically but socially, and they want to do better for their children. But when I look at it, it's the children who committing a lot of the crimes. It, the children who ain't living up to why the parents come here, you know, to raise the level of living economically, financially, you know. Somehow we've lost the standards of raising children. And we always said, no, that's something we don't learn in school, you know, that's something that's on the job training. But there's no excuse. There's no excuse because
It's like I just said to myself, we wrap ourselves in an American flag so much that we lost the sense and the value of the Caribbean region,
exactly the
which
cultural
is the
traditions
basis of
and
we.
morals,
Yep.
yes, and even into education, because I'm
Yeah.
looking back, I was able to work throughout the Eastern Caribbean within their to learn their systems, look at teachers now compared to the teachers back in the days where we used to say, well, the British education system seem to be better because
Mhm.
yeah, they're more educated and except
Yeah.
I can't say that now. And it's because who the teachers are and why they got into teaching, and it's not to continue the movement of self-government.
Yeah.
You know, it's what I could get out of it. Me. It's about me. And
Yeah.
the money is because I'm hearing teachers saying, oh, we ain't getting enough pay. And listen here, I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to stop them from taking monies out of my check and giving to the AFT, because every time the AFT wanted to strike out or march or to act up, it's always about money. And I'm looking at what are the teachers doing in the classroom? You know, why is it always about money? But yet
Yeah.
means, you know, teacher driving a broken down car and
I hear you. The change in the car every 2 years.
Mm.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, I was calling back this morning.
What did I miss?
Absolutely. No, you didn't miss that. I just wanted to say something else.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Run. Don't consider it.
Thank you. Yes, keep the pressure on.
Run. I mean, we need, besides Miss Moorhead, we need another fighter, especially on that board of education.
Yes.
And you're more than qualified, and you come with fresh new ideas. You know the problems, and you work on the solution. So let me see your name. I usually don't disclose who I vote for, but you will definitely get my vote. So please run. Let me see your name on the ballot.
And make sure Carla, when you think about it over the weekend, to find out if she got that nomination paper for you to put on her signature to make sure she's doing what she's supposed to do.
Yeah, I hope she did that. Yeah, I'm sure she seems to be.
Well, thank you so much for calling back to do that. And you make sure spread the word along your contact to tell them to look out for that name.
Yes, definitely I will.
thank you, dear.
Thank you.
So, Peggy, my major concerns in regards to the board,
Yeah.
and even getting on the board, is assimilating into the membership of the board. Because looking at the board over the years, I know there was one time that people who were elected to sit on the board actually resigned from the board because of the conflicts and the back and forth that was going on the board, and they couldn't take it anymore, and the backbiting and the manipulations and
Yep. There's all of that. Good afternoon and welcome.
I want to second the motion. Run. No, we need somebody like you, Miss Jackson, on the board. Peggy can do it all.
yes.
Peggy,
Yes, dear.
I still maintain
No, 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 no. You. No problem. I heard you. I heard you, and I also heard Lucy.
I know, but you also said that it's only three of you retired persons on the board. We all others have big standalone job.
Yeah.
Then you can't, the board can't take that no more. The board, of course, needs to concentrate on what's in the code now and enforce that to the extent that if you have to take one of the governor to court or the board, the Department of Education to court, do that.
No, I just, you
It
see,
has to be done.
Mr. Nims, what it is my position is that I think if we had it the other way around, where it was just 3 government employees and the other 6 was retiree, that we would get more done. That's my position, and this is why I really I come all out this people think me for it, because I said I am against folks who are government employees running, and it's not just the board of education, the board of election too, because you really have to commit. You have to commit, and there's a lot of reading on both boards. Both boards there's a lot of reading that you have to do, and you can get more done if you can meet more often to get work done.
Right. But let me say something about that, but then don't let me forget to say something about Pops Tower, because somebody sent me a text and I forgot to say something.
You promoted Pops Tower for something?
No, but no. I really want to say.
All right, go ahead.
I have been told by members of boards, particularly the WAPA board, that they get them things just to travel. Okay? Now you tell me this. If WAPA has a little, I don't know, the plant in St. Thomas and St. Croix together can fit in one small corner of power companies that I know across the world. So you can't work that, you can't keep the lights on, but you want to go see what you call nuclear power plants all about in India. When you go in there, go look far. Spending government money willy-nilly. And every time you talk about it, you feel they get shame, but the shame back to my shop, so they turn around and go again. I mean, it's disgusting. But anyway, let me go to Pastor, because I forgot to mention when I was talking about him. I only mentioned the part where when the Governor King said, when he as administrator speaks, he's speaking for the governor. I forgot to also mention that he came up under the same training as myself in the afternoon classes. We had to go from, I think it was from 1 to 4 o'clock. That was our afternoon class in the shops. And he's a skilled mechanic. So even though he's deep in politics, he always have his tool done in the trunk of his car. Same as myself. Electrical and plumbing work is my suit. Some surveying work, electrical engineering, but yet I'm a politician. Not a politician, I'm a politician. Reggie,
Yes.
I enjoyed this program this afternoon. I was glad I could be a part of it. And the lady that just called back, she recognized it very aptly. That is one of the best programs. And to you, madam, I forgot your name. I know it was called Mariola. You enjoy your Mother's Day as well. I got again.
All right, dear. Thank you. Continue.
So, I think my approach to being on the board would be first to learn the intricacies of how the board functions internally, and thus identify what are the hindrances in terms of why they're not fully executing their authority. And then to get to know the characters and the personalities of the members on the board. Because even say running for the board is not me alone. It's a team. It's all a we. And I can't get whatever I am concerned about. I can't even get it on the floor or to be considered if I don't consider the people that I put there to work with. Okay. So those are just the concerns I have because I ain't going there to fight and to struggle with nobody. But at the same time, I like to move forward. I'm about motion and not just talk. You know?
Well, I understand. And by the way, since you mentioned it, let me just for your benefit and the benefit of the listening audience, the policy that exists right now with board where travel is concerned is that every member is allowed to attend 3 conferences per year, 3 of your choice, educational conference. So, and funded by the government. Airfare, hotel, and then your what they call it when they give you money for ground
Per diem.
transportation and yes,
For the
yes,
But what I also realize is a lot of people don't know that the board is not a paid position. It's like you're volunteering to do this work. You're volunteering to be on the board. What you get is maybe $50 for every meeting you attend, or
it's 75 and 100, depending on the committee and the regular board meeting is $75. I don't know why special and them is 100. And there's the majority of the standing committees is $100 stipend for the meeting.
okay.
Okay.
So
And so sometimes we have, like for instance, because the chair is always, he's the chair of the certification committee too. So soon as the certification people tell him that they have a list of people to be approved to be certified, he usually schedule meetings. Sometimes you might have a certification meeting and a different committee meeting following, but that would only end up to 1 stipend. It is, as to what committee you apply it to, but you don't get more than 1 stipend per day.
so I feel anybody who runs for a board, it has to be because of their commitment and their interest, and not because they're getting paid any high salary.
Mine was, because it's something I thought about even while I was teaching, but really I never committed to it. But as I saw the deficiencies increasing, because I've always believed, and my experience in the 30 years in the classroom has taught me this, that regardless of the household, regardless of the experiences that the child has in life, as long as they could get education with proper support,
Yes.
they they sail. I've seen so many of them. I mean, they just take off. And I tell people I want to live long, but I want to live long in an educated society. I don't want much as stress at every place you go, every office you walk into, every store you go into, it's a it's a concern. You're meeting just misery. You can't even get a good afternoon. How are you doing? I even pull up to McDonald's and after I give my order and I pull up to the window to pay, the young person there asked, $12. And I said, good afternoon. Do me a favor and repeat my order so I can make sure it's properly entered. But you make the order. Yeah.
The hospitality and the training. So that leads me to one thing that I didn't talk about
Go
that's in the
ahead.
VI code.
Good.
And this is the worker preparation educational
Oh,
program that's been in the books for decades, since the early 1900s. This section may be cited as the Worker Preparation Educational Program Act. Number 2, cooperative education means a structured method of instruction in work-related matters, including federal and local labor laws designed for high school seniors to increase the knowledge of work and employment matters, develop and augment communication, interpersonal decision-making, and lifelong learning skills needed for success in a job market, and to provide learning experiences in employer-employee relationships, teamwork, customer service, and work assignment responsibilities as an integral part of the labor relations worker preparation components. Workforce preparation means activities that are designed to prepare high school graduates for entry into the job market, including classroom exposure to core concepts in labor relations, as well as more. So it goes on to talk about worker preparation. And our forefathers saw the need for this because for how long have we been pushing tourism as one of the major components of our economic system? And if we don't have people who knows how to relate to other people, lately I've been hearing a lot of complaints about the young generation of workers always on the cell phone and they get paid today and they don't show up tomorrow. This has been on the books since the early 1900s. I told you that one of my jobs was program manager for Jobs for Virgin Islands graduates who actually taught everything that's in this act, in this policy. It was an extension for Jobs for America's Graduates, which was created in DC. And when I was given the job by Labor Commissioner at the time, I think she was Assistant Commissioner Carol Burke, who was my classmate. And so when you have a master's in vocational special, maybe you can handle this position. So they had just got the program in. Governor Bryan reinstituted the program, I think, last year or the year before. So it's called Jobs for America's Graduates, and it's supposed to be in all high schools. So what it does is it trains the students on everything for job preparation, hospitality, interviewing skills, etc. Public speaking. They do job shadowing and do role playing of incidents that would happen on the job site, etc. So I'm saying there's no reason why this couldn't be implemented to the fullest because we have the programs built into the system. It's just not coordinated coherently because Jobs for America's Graduates is not a required graduation requirement either. You know, it's not one of the required courses, but yet it's in the high schools. But the students are required to take the course. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I keep wondering, but the things are there, but they're not incorporating it and emphasizing the need to have these, you know, because our grassroots.
I'm sitting here smiling because I have a granddaughter, 12th grade in a complex, and she was aware of that. I had to go and look for her place to go work because she is interested in something that is not ordinary. She's interested in those, what do you call it, laser, like the MRI machines and those type of things.
Yes.
Yes. And
radiology and technician.
Yeah. So I had to go out and make contact with the two places I know in St. Croix, the MRI and the imaging center, and find out, you know, what would be involved and one. I get the person's name, contact name, and one, and then I brought that information to the teacher.
Well, Peggy, let me tell you what Jovid did when I was the manager. I had supervised people in St. Thomas and St. Croix that were in all the high schools. And not only did they prepare them for jobs and put them on job sites, there are a lot of students who were placed into jobs that are still there today, and that was over 30 years ago. We have people in Marshall and Sterling. We have we had people at Hovensa that Hovensa employed. They trained them because it was on the job training, but they kept them on after their time was up. So all of this happened within that program that was built into the system and run between education and the Department of Labor.
But I want to point out too that it is only because of my insistence and my character, my personality, because there was a situation with scheduling. And you see, this is something that I have a problem with in the high school. The counselors that exist now, they are reluctant to personalizing the scheduling. And I have a problem with that because the focus, my thing is, everything is a child. It's the student. So what the student needs, what the student wants, is what's supposed to be your priority. Don't tell me about what the system that you can't make a change or adjustment to accommodate so the student could get what they want. I get highly irritated then.
The annotation narrative that goes with this specific code said it was for high school graduates who don't plan to go to college, but will be going directly into the job force. So that's why it should be a required, it ain't a choice as an elective. It's a required component
Well,
for graduation.
I will dare to
Or should
say
be.
that I don't think it's being applied that way presently.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And ain't even being implemented to the fullest extent. Because we had competitions with all the high schools in interviewing skills, communication skills, public speaking, resume writing, and who were the judges for each of those areas. We got employers in the community on St. Croix and St. Thomas. The first year we did it in St. Thomas. Second year we brought the St. Thomas to St. Croix. Yeah.
Alternate.
And this was competition between all the high schools, not just St. Croix and St. Thomas. All the high schools. At the time, we didn't have complex, we just had Central High School. So it was Central High School going against Charlotte Amalie and Eudora King.
Which is something, again, that's different then to now. We used to have a lot of competition in schools then, and there's very little that happens now.
We had
other than
students
sports.
who came to us so shy, but when they got into these competitions, the self-confidence that they develop and the camaraderie,
Yeah.
So if JAG is implemented to the fullest extent, it could fulfill this policy requirement.
What I also would like to see the workforce development do is help the high school counselors with the knowledge of the upcoming careers, because things are changing. I reached out to a senator 2 years ago and asked him to have his staff upgrade the legislature financial scholarship list, because as far as I know, it has not been upgraded from the time it was made. Okay, so here we are getting into all kinds of different, climate change, environmental, technology, all kind of new careers that are developing that the children, first of all, are not aware of unless they happen to have some type of essay or assignment that expose them to something. And we in our departments are not letting education know what's coming. Because I look at, for instance, the DPNR, and I'm thinking they got to be a lot of careers coming in DPNR that we have no idea about, but nobody's mentioning it. And I didn't get the list from the senator.
But I thought that the board is who oversees even in legislative
Yes.
scholarships.
I tried that.
The boards, yeah,
That's me, you know.
those scholarships and
I
the
al-
choosing of the recipients.
I
and so forth
always
is
first do things
the board's
according to
responsibility.
process. I always do it. And when I can't succeed there, I find other places to go. Because it's a matter of things need to happen. You know? But it didn't work with that senator. Come the 37, I'll look for somebody to try and help out there because there are things coming up. I mean, even in the applications, I remember one year a student had female, what was it? Female something, I forget. And nobody knew where to put this child in so far. So I finally had to, well, put it with medicine. Because if the word female is there, then let's deal with from the back, put it with medicine. Yeah. So things are happening that we're not familiar with, and we have no way of learning because our government isn't doing their part.
I think those are all excuses because now with the World Wide Web and this whole technology information system that we are exposed to, there's no excuses to say we don't know.
Well, let me tell you one thing with the World Wide Web. It don't necessarily exist in the public school because that is a major problem. Ever since the existence of internet, there has yet to be a facility in the public school education system that can say they get constant, dependable internet connection on a daily basis.
Even though within the Department of Education there's a Bureau of Information Technology
Exactly.
agency.
Exactly.
Agency.
And I have researched that, and the answer I have been come from the agency is they need new equipment, and the department don't have the money. So my thing was, well, then why doesn't that unit make a list of what it needs in order? Because I mean, this is years ever since I got on. I've been looking at this, and I thought it was the I wait
IT.
ISP, the internet
Yes.
provider.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it took me a couple of years to realize it was not. The problem is in education. It is what is going, the service to the facility is fine. It's what's happening inside the facility.
Department.
Right? But I don't understand why is it that when the commissioner gives the budget, that there is not an itemized section that deals with IT division, showing what equipment or whatever is necessary with the estimated cost so it can be provided. Nobody has an answer for that. So here we are, 20 years into the internet, and we ain't solving the problem.
Even 20 years is far behind.
Okay?
Far behind with
So,
technology.
What you have is those who
And
can
what our
afford it,
students need to know.
those who can afford it come with help me out. A spot, something spot?
The hotspot.
Uh-huh. they come with their own hotspot and they help out the class. That's what's going on.
Well, thank you for having me today. I enjoy this, and it's always welcoming to have this conversation, have a conversation about education with you.
Well, thank you for accepting the invitation. And I thank you for the callers who helped to push. Don't stop, because hello, you can't stop. You certainly see the actual name and the ballot. So make sure and follow up. Young lady, I'm speaking to you. The one who say you know a good. make sure and follow up. I put in this responsibility on you to make sure that she do what she's supposed to do and that she gets her petition paper
Because
fill out
and
and
submitted.
submitted.
Yes,
By the way,
ma'am.
I just got an email pointing out that the first day to file is Tuesday coming from 12 o'clock, from 12 to 6. On Tuesday, that's the first day to file. Usually, I tell people it's good to file the first day if you have the required number of signatures. Well, I always go over because when you put it in on the first day, the office reviews everything and then they immediately can tell you within a day or two that you're short here, you're short there because this one wasn't registered or like no, this one is inactive or whatever. So then you can get it back and get it corrected before the deadline.
So you couldn't submit them before Tuesday.
No, no,
Okay.
no. Yeah, Tuesday at
Tuesday.
12 o'clock. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
So thank you for coming and good luck.
Okay.
And I will definitely do what all I can to help in that position. Okay. And folks, let me remind you and that remember tomorrow at 9:30 the Senate Operation Committee, okay, is going to be reviewing, as I said, the bill 360187, and I'm looking for you people to call your senators who are, I'm sorry, I don't have my list with me as to the senators of that particular committee, because naturally that is where the vote begins in order for the bill to move on then to the next uh, stage of the process. This is the bill that would allow for paper ballots to be put in a separate ballot box so that those votes, then when it's removed, those votes are hand counted. And the position that we're taking with that, especially you heard in the discussion that Ms. Jackson was saying in her experience of dealing with the nomination paper, that she's meeting so many young people who are not voting, who are not registered. And it's because, as I've said before, okay, they have lost trust in the system. So this is why, one of the reasons why I advocated for this bill with the paper ballot, because it is a different means of voting, and it is a more transparent because many of them they just don't have the trust and faith in the machinery. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, Peggy. The time running down, but I need to sit it.
Go
I
ahead.
couldn't leave it till next Wednesday. Ms. Jackson, I need you.
Hold on. She left, She left.
Oh, she's gone?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But she might be hearing something.
I'm sure she's listening. I want her to help me to explain the graduate black men. And a lot of them just have this fallacy. They want a woman more educated than them. I mean, what is this kind of foolishness that these people talking? Peggy, you know me love my woman and them. And I love nothing more than an educated woman. You feel me?
Well, yeah, it's a matter even social. You want somebody who's on a particular level that you can have a discussion, a sensible discussion about a subject matter, or who can even also participate in a discussion in a socializing situation.
Of course, because some of them even go so far to say, me ain't want my girlfriend or wife make my money because then she find a man and all level she go and leave me. Maybe that might happen, but it don't have to happen. If you follow what that lady teaching you because of her knowledge, skills, abilities, training, you yourself will become educated. Because it's education she's talking. You see?
Well,
So,
things must have really changed because if I recall, I mean that back in the day, it was the opposite, I think. Okay,
well,
people were usually looking for a companion that was doing better than them.
well, yes, for the most part. A woman more likely would want to find a man that's doing better than her. But it got some fellows, the wife went and got all these degrees, like I think Miss Benjamin, not Miss Benjamin, Miss Jackson said, I think she said what 3 or 4 degrees she has
Yes.
in the bachelor area, in the master's, and in the PhD, and they
Yeah.
got 2 PhDs.
Yep.
And that's what prompted me to ask her why she wasn't teaching at a higher level. But anyway, that's her choice that she probably may consider it. However, I ain't trying to throw a fishing line. But I'm going to get to know Miss Jackson. I'm going to get to know you. Because we think like woman that's so educated as I and I.
Well, I do hope and pray that she is successful in her run because of all the different areas which she has knowledge of where education is concerned. Right?
Very educated lady. And they from the shot talking to this couple of hours. I mean, who can clean? I mean, and it's coming off her lips so cool and easy. He just took them on a certified science teacher. This is a well-educated woman.
I wouldn't hesitate to say she has a wider scope of knowledge about education than I do. Because just in the career section and the special ed and whatnot, I'm limited there. She has degrees in those areas.
Right, I don't think, Peggy, you would have a problem in admitting that because that's how you are.
No, me got problem. I like being from people who know more than me. It's like for one.
Me too. I love it. Me, I just surround myself with knowledgeable people. Scholars. And again, in going, let me just say this, I want to give out the Mother's Day wishes to all the women that taught me and get me to where I am to the beginning with my mother. People like women like Borta Boshalta, Ola Mola, Helen Joseph, Maureen Carter, and what's the Christian mother name? She have a school name after her name is again something.
Miss Larson. Melina Christian?
Yes. We saw on the board we saw on the commission and agent together. She was the enlisted, I was the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people, the women that I feel so good that have brought me to the post I am today. Because I was headed for the rock, the rock that was going on.
All right.
Helen Joseph, and even Helen Bessop. Oh man, let me tell you, my heart gets full when I think of these ladies. And I start thinking too much and I've gone on. Your mother, and I tell you, it's in our house. I got the political seat.
Right. I got to jump off. I got a call coming in. I'm going to give them a chance before I have to leave.
Let it come in, I got.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome. Hello?
Right quick. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yes, sorry for calling so late. Right quick. First of all, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
you don't have to rush. We have some time. Go ahead.
Okay, the CP compliance officer, because we were talking talking about how when you miss school back then, the officer used to come to your home, or the parents would get in trouble when you miss so many days out of school. Is that compliance officer is the name, or is it a different name?
Well, they got couple because it's attendance officer or attendance counselor or whatever, some types of that type. It comes the person. It's sort of a dual thing because the person comes. There's one that comes under education, and then there's another position that can come under human services.
Okay, because we didn't know, we was trying to, because we were always talking about you get in trouble if you didn't go to school, and your parents will get in trouble after you miss so many days. They want to know what happened to you, or
Yeah,
something,
it still happens after you miss a certain amount of days. The counselor reports the student to that attendance person, and that is then the attendance person has to do research or go out to their household and find out what is happening, why the child isn't attending, and if there's some problem that needs to be addressed, then they have to refer the situation to someone else.
Okay, so that's still active now, right?
Yes, yes, it is. What happens is
wonderful.
the problem I think is that we don't every school doesn't have it's not used at every school. One and two, there's a situation where transportation is a problem because
Okay,
at some point the person has to go out, to the home or whatever, and that transportation isn't necessarily available in order to do the run.
okay. So if there is, does the school provide a means for the child to get to school, or something like that?
No, no, it's not. I'm just saying for the council, the attendance council, to make the household run to find out
Hmm.
why the child isn't in school.
Okay, okay, okay. But the parents are still held responsible. Once
Definitely,
they do they.
definitely,
Okay,
definitely.
okay. All right, thank you. We was trying to find out the name of that, so we thought we were too scared of this school. you know. So that's what we were talking about. Someone that when we went to Central High, and then we were talking about when it was Christian State High School, and when the schools had opened up to where it was Kingsfield, then it became Central High. So I'm kind of talking with someone that back in those times went to school there. And thank you again. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to you, and get blessings, God's will, and thank you for being there. And take care of yourself.
Thank you. The same to you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Blessings.
Bye. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, very quickly, just for information purposes, the position under education used to be called the truant officer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I remember when I was going to school, there used to be a gentleman from Saban, where I was from, named Mr. Husband.
Yeah.
Husband was the last name. And he used to have his own car, and he would drive around, go to the trail, like you run Babel Plaza, hanging out.
All right.
Sometimes the parents got on them together
Okay.
because you're not supposed to be in school.
Right.
You know, he go around sometimes the boy them want to go by basketball court. So he going all around. And after him, what had happened when Liston Davis and ICM had become principal of Charlotte Amari High, my alma mater, Liston used to do a lot of that himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a principal, you figure you would be in your office and coat and tie. He used to be by the gate every morning to see who come in, how properly they dress. And he had a line of sight where you could look from the gate down by Babel Plaza, the boy sit down there on a wall, got a boy party from Buffy party shop and everything. And he from 70 coming together because they're not be lying in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
You see? But I don't know. I only hope that they continue this thing. I know sometimes the system, because I've had a lot of teachers say, my son, I gave up. I could only do so much. I come to teach. I can't be mother. I can't be Mali saying one. It is very hard as teachers today.
Well, you gave me an opening to mention something that I had in mind and I had forgotten because I heard on another show somebody talking about the fact that they need to people are considering removal of school uniform, and I wanted to point out that it is not only uh, um, something that to mitigate any pressure, peer pressure, and so forth as to the appearance of the churn. It's a security measure because
Of course,
if everybody is in street clothes, then you have a problem of knowing who belongs and who doesn't belong, and it's easier for people on the outside to infiltrate the system if you don't
thank
have a
you.
uniform.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I saw that thing on Facebook. Somebody tell me something. Some man saying it's a retail and trade wear the old clothes. They didn't wear the old clothes.
No,
Foolishness.
no.
You're going to distinguish who going to Elena Christian, who going to this school,
Yeah.
going to the other school.
Yeah, and
Big mama.
and I mean, I think it would be available or allowed that if a school wanted to make the uniform different for whatever reason, color or whatever, that the parent organization, whether it's a PTA or PTO, can do a project or whatever in order to consider what a change might look like. But uniforms are important. As I
Of
said,
course.
one because you do have problems, and sometimes because of the finances of the household, they would have difficulty if they every day with street clothes, and then there would be those who would want to show off because they can afford to. Okay, but more than that, it is a security thing because when you mentioned about listen, being able to look down. He could look down all he want, but he wouldn't be able to distinguish if they had a uniform.
Exactly. Exactly. You see, what the thing to Peggy, and I must say this, when you hear who is saying these things about must wear their own clothes, to me they have ulterior motives. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I know. When the taxi drivers who used to come and park in the avenues across from Charlotte Amali High and the little girlfriend, whether they 7, 8, 9, would waltz and go to the van and have lunch in the van and do whatever they do in the van, that they had to scatter them from there. They used to even tell them walk with an extra blouse. So once you're out of school, you take off your school blouse. So when you and I out, they can't recognize that it's a school girl away.
I see.
Let me tell you.
So that would be even more of a problem because if you don't have a uniform, then it's easier to do those type of things.
Of course, right, they need to go sit down and jump in and leave and say, they should have the name and then see it when they check. And then you put it up in your back to the North School. Maybe you got those there, man.
Thank you, dear. Take care.
Okay.
And folks, yes, I am definitely would be one who would be supporting keeping uniform for public school students. Like I said, in my position is mainly the security of the whole thing because nowadays, especially when you have some type of a conflict that might be happening among students, if you're not in uniform, it would be easy for a child to even for somebody to just take a ID from someone and just have it hanging on it because when you're walking in, nobody is necessarily watching an ID close enough to make sure that the ID corresponds with the person who's having it on. They usually are just looking to see that there is an ID. So you would have a problem, yes, of people coming in off the street to cause physical problems, physical conflicts, and whatnot. And that would be even more of a problem. Okay? So, folks, It has been quite an afternoon. I am really appreciative and pleased that Miss Lucy Jackson was able to accept my invitation and come spend some time and share with us her knowledge and her philosophy, her position concerning public school education. I am quite pleased that seemingly she has made the decision to be aspirant. They say you must use the aspirant until the supervisor of election makes their decision. Then you become candidate. But I am quite pleased that she's made that choice. You heard for yourself that she's quite knowledgeable, quite qualified. And, I tell people in all the positions, if we want change, we need to change the people who are in these positions. Naturally, we have no choice. We're going to have a different governor and lieutenant governor. The one change I see that we can make there is, so please, please, please don't go for another registered Democrat. Let's open up the field. Let's try independence, okay? Because let's face it, we've been under the control and the authority of registered Democrats for about 3 decades now. And if anything, there are quite a few out there who would have to admit that we are seemingly going backwards, or if anything, stuck, not moving, not really progressing at the rate that we should with all the resources and the benefits that we have available to us. So, but we have the seats of 7 people that we need to fill in the district of St. Croix. And I'm saying there too, to look at your registered uh, independents or Republicans first, okay? And as I said before, if you cannot defend, if you cannot promote a person, a candidate, okay, that you are supporting, that you're backing, if you can't tell somebody the reasons, the substantive reason why you're supporting that person, then it means that you don't have enough to really give that support and you need to try something else. Okay? We're at the end of our time here. I appreciate those who are listening. I appreciate those who called, and we will look forward to being with you again next week, same time, same place, WSTX 970 AM. Take care and thanks for being there.